Welcome to a double upload and stream today with the reaction in the middle of Game Week 3 as we look forward to the upcoming deadline, which is several weeks away going into Game Week 4. I'll be answering all your questions, going through your comments, and earlier, I'm just saying I'm not flexing, but I did a 3.5 hour stream roughly, maybe just a little bit less. So it's going to be a lot of content, obviously, for today. And throughout the week, I was posting several different podcasts, the predicted lineups yesterday, the team selection and free hit videos before that, transfer tips and wildcard squads. So there's a lot of different content there for Game Week 3, so you're well prepared. As I said earlier, I was expecting a red arrow. If I bought in Bruno Fernandes for free and started in die, which is what I would have done by buying Bruno for Cole Palmer, I would be on a green arrow right now with plenty of players left tomorrow. But as you can see, I've only had Sanchez, Borro and Joao Pedro start for me today. So I've still got 8 players left, including my captain. So I am expecting an improvement. And by the way, I'm not sure what's happened there. Let me just show you the rank. I'm not trying to hide or anything. For some reason, it's disappeared. I promise I'm not trying to pull Houdini on you. You will see my rank at the moment, but basically it's doubled from what you saw earlier today. But I did kind of expect a massive rank drop after the Saturday based on my allocation of players going into the Sunday. And that's where I'm really banking on those players to bail me out. And I think I will be, well, let's not put a number to it. Let's see what happens. But I am expecting much better, of course, by this time tomorrow. So I'm just going to update that very quickly. I'm also going to show you FPL Challenge, which has gone very well for me so far. I'm happy with that. At least I'm doing well in something this week. And DEFCON has to be targeted in FPL Challenge because you get 10 points if a player gets 10 defensive contributions in the defensive position. And for midfielders and forwards, of course, it will be 12 defensive actions. So let's see if I can group that. And I think that will be the solution. I've identified why that number disappeared. But yeah, it should be with you shortly, I promise. Yeah. Okay, so. Yeah. I don't have a blank rank. I mean, that'd be quite nice. A good ring to it, actually, having a blank rank. But no, that is not going to be the case. So, drumroll please, ladies and gentlemen. This is my provisional rank, courtesy of livefpl.net. It's terrible. Yeah, 3.6 million. I was like 1.7 earlier, something like that. 1.6. But yeah, there you go. I'm still expecting much better tomorrow, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. Drop a like on this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. But let's get into your questions first and foremost. So the first one is by Easy, and he says, my first team, again with this, got 25 points, 5 to go. My second team got 20, also 5 players to go. Cunha captain in my first squad is unfortunate. Well, yeah, we're seeing a lot of different injuries at the moment. He pulled up. He obviously played the 90 minutes against Grimsby Town and took part in the penalty shootout. But yeah, you can't really account for these sort of things. I thought Cunha was the most lively United attacker. Bryan Mbeumo was quite underwhelming, I think, so far in his United career. But he scored the second goal. And Bruno Fernandes, of course, with that late penalty to give Manchester United the victory. And also maximum bonus points for him, I believe. He got DEFCON. But yeah, that's the 10 points for Bruno. And a massive swing at the moment because, for those that are unaware, I bought Ismail Assar and Chris Wood for Palmer and Mark Guiu for a -4 hit, and my alternative really was buying Fernandes for Palmer for free and starting both Iliman and Dye and Reinders. And at the moment, obviously taking into account the 4 points I've already lost for a hit, then you're factoring in Dye's 7-pointer. That's not looking too good already. And then Fernandes getting 10 points at the def. Otherwise, I would have been fairly happy with how things have panned out so far. But I think that late Bruno Fernandes penalty has maybe stung me a little bit because he also would have been my captain, actually. Kevy says, hey, 28 points with 7 to play. Mbeumo captain has been all right. Yeah, that's a good start. I think 28 points is looking solid. And you've got the numbers. So I think you can secure a green arrow there. Yeah, also, hey, Bruno. Yeah, look, I mean, I was expecting him to return today. I'm not a big fan of him a bit longer term, and I felt I would rather have that sort of budget midfielder with more value, like Ismail Assar. We'll see how he does tomorrow against Aston Villa. And then also captaining Chris Wood. I was very bullish on him, but maybe in hindsight, going for the free transfer was the way to go. But I think the full picture will be painted by tomorrow, of course. It's not looking great for me at the moment, but at least you've got a captaincy return in your case, and you've also got the numbers left to secure a green arrow. My second team still has Watkins, Hallen captain, and Mateta, hoping for triple returns. I'd probably expect 2 out of 3, but yeah, a full house is certainly possible. Poor Jackson, he has to return to Chelsea after landing in Munich. Yeah, but the agent isn't happy, and it looks like he's going to try find a different solution. But I think Chelsea will get what they want. That Delap injury, and he's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks, according to Maresca, minimum. Yeah, that is going to push Chelsea to keep Jackson. And Bayern Munich have had a shock of a transfer window. I know they signed Diaz. He's had a great start to his Bayern Munich career, but yeah, club of Bayern size. Going for Jackson as well is a bit surprising, but they can't even get that done, although they were a bit unfortunate with that one. Let's go, Dylan Rocks. Get liking and subbing now. Thank you very much, Gary. Obviously, you're a Liverpool fan, I believe, and should be a great game tomorrow, but I appreciate you tuning in today. A lot of people like the Saturday night deadline streams or reaction streams, but yeah, the deadlines as well in the morning. That's always fun, waking up at 8, talking about FPL from the very beginning, and then having it ruin your day and weekend. Easy says, if Cunha's injured, I have to sell him again after buying him this game week. Well, the good thing is you've got the international break, so there's a few weeks for maybe Cunha to recover, but it didn't look good. The way he pulled up, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he missed game weeks 4 and 5, but it's very early to kind of deliver a prognosis, of course. Cunha to Grealish. Yeah, Jack Grealish has been brilliant for Everton so far. I almost said Aston Villa by bad habit, but that combination with Ndai I talked about before, and of course it was Dewsbury Hall and Grealish linking up for one of the goals too, but yeah, it was even a good header for Beto for the opening goal, and Grealish has had a great start. I have to say, I'm very impressed by him, but from an FPL perspective, I mean, take your pick. You've got Dewsbury Hall, who's a bit cheaper, and you've also got Ndai, who has been consistent in the last 2 game weeks anyway, and one of my last minute decisions, by the way, was to bench Ndai for Reinders, and look, if Reinders, gets an assist and I'm missing out on 2 points, it's not too bad, right? Or even 1 point, but yeah, I'm not that confident now, of course, with that late switch. So anything Reinders does, I'll be happy with it. Yeah, why did I bench Dewsbury Hall? Yeah, kind of what I was just talking about with Ndai as well. A bit worse in your case of Dewsbury Hall because he got even more points, but look, these things can happen. I also thought Wolves would keep it a bit tighter. I know Totti Gomez was suspended, but I still felt they would be... I mean, they were competitive in the game, but I just felt Everton's attack was too much for them, and Wolves were shocking defensively, which I was quite surprised by. So, yeah, Wolves aren't looking too good at the moment, and they would be a bottom 5 candidate at the moment alongside the newly promoted clubs. Isidore is an absolute baller. Well, of course, he scored in Game Week 1, and he's done it again. And yeah, Sunderland are going to be quite tough, I think, at the Stadium of Light. But yeah, so far they're facing West Ham and Brentford, who are 2 teams who will probably be in the bottom half of the table, but it's still very impressive. And that assist by Xhaka was exceptional. Yeah, 4 assists in 2 games. You can't really judge him off his debut against Leeds. But yeah, his first 2 starts have been very impressive. And Jack Grealish, I haven't expected it, to be honest. Fair play to him. And I think the question will lie at Pep Guardiola's door. Why can you get the best out of him? With the exception of that treble-winning season in 2022-23, where Grealish scored some important goals and had decent output. But yeah, Grealish has always been a good player, but maybe Man City just didn't suit him. Gary says 3 weeks in and the summer has made our heroes soft. They're all getting injured. I just think it's too much football, to be fair. We saw Rodri even last season picking up that ACL injury, and we saw, I think, an increase, if I'm not mistaken, in hamstring problems and ACL injuries. So hopefully, some solution is found, but we all know how FIFA, UEFA, and all these corporations are. They just want more games, more money, and that's basically the bottom line. They just argue get a bigger squad and stuff like that, especially to these big clubs. But yeah, it's another injury, and of course, Matheus Cunha is the one this time round. João Pedro was very good today. Surely he's a must at this stage. It is a shame, but yeah, he is underpriced, and he's had a great start to his Chelsea career. He also made a goal line clearance at the end of the game, which guaranteed him the maximum bonus points. He was also close to securing DEFCON, which is incredible for a forward, especially one that you always, for João Pedro, you're buying him in for the goals and assists. But Chelsea had a penalty, and it was Enzo Fernandez who stepped up, not João Pedro, which I was convinced about since the summer. So maybe João Pedro is third in command behind Palmer and Enzo Fernandez. Batman says, sold and die for Grealish. Might be my greatest FPL move yet. Well, I'm not trying to shit on your biscuits, or is that even a saying? Shit on your parade? Okay, I shouldn't be saying the word shit. But yeah, you only gained 1 point this week. But yeah, Grealish has looked really impressive so far. To be fair, I might be wrong about that. You might have gained a little bit more than just 1 point. Ndai in the end got 7. Obviously, he scored Wolves' second goal and also had a goal disallowed towards the beginning of the second half, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to go through the bonus points now. for every single team and every single game. So in the Chelsea-Fulham match, for those that are unaware, Joao Pedro is set to get maximum bonus points. I'm not sure what's wrong with the FPL website, by the way, but yeah. Chalobah will get 2, and Enzo Fernandez will get 1. For Man United Burnley, Bruno Fernandes is actually getting 2. Mbeumo's getting 3 bonus points, and Amad Diallo, no, it's Lyle Foster getting 1. But I don't know why FPL are doing this. They're not even showing me. I have to basically look at it myself. But anyway, Spurs, Bournemouth. So we'll see the bonus points there. Senesi with 3. He has been very impressive so far this season with DEFCON in all 3 matches so far. Ivanilson has 2. And Brooks has 1. Vicario was very close to getting a bonus point. And I have to say, he was Spurs' best player. He kept them in it. And Bournemouth absolutely dominated that game. In the Sunderland 2, Brentford 1 game, the bonus points were awarded to Lefay, Isidore, and Igor Thiago. And then, yes, Wolves and Everton. Thankfully, Ndai got 0. Small victory for me. Yeah, I should have started him. Dewsbury Hall has maximum bonus points. Grealish has 2. And Beto has 1. And in the game that just finished, a goalless draw between Leeds and Newcastle. Goodmanson with 3. Botman with 2. And Rodon with 1. Boring. But there you go. We've had a few surprising results this weekend. The only one I've predicted correctly is Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. And originally I was going for a 1-0. So I just had a late change of heart. And yeah, thankfully I got 1 right. Baraf says 30 points with 4 left, captain Cunha. Yeah, the points total is decent, but only 4 left and Cunha captain. It will leave you frustrated, that's for sure. 36 points with Bruno as captain. Yeah, I have to say that would have been a game changer for me this week. I'll still see what Sarr and Chris would do for me tomorrow because that was the kind of direct comparison, but also factoring a -4 hit and also benching Ndai at the end, it does seem like starting Ndai and also buying Fernandes was the way to go. But yeah, things change very quickly. Turns out that Newcastle account was telling the truth. He has gotten things right in the past, NUFC will, and that's why I felt it was worth mentioning in the deadline stream. But yeah, both players were on the bench. I'm quite surprised by that. Maybe they had some issues over the last couple of days. I haven't seen what Eddie Howe has said, so maybe he'll say something now in the press conference, and if I see it in time, I can relay that information to you as well. But they should be fine for Gameweek 4 anyway, assuming they have no injuries, of course, in the case of Elanga with his country. DM McDonald says 28 points with 5 to go. Very similar scores flying around, this seems. Spurs having a stinker today let me down big time. Definitely play my wildcard once the window shuts now. 2 weeks to tinker about with the team. On paper, it's a good time to wildcard. You've got the international break. You can also prepare for any injuries that happen during these international friendlies and stuff like that, and also competitive games in some cases, actually. I think in South America, for example, there are still 2 more left with the qualifiers. But yeah, I think I'm looking to wildcard a bit later in the season. That's just me personally, and it is team dependent, but I completely get why you want a wildcard now in Gameweek 4. I certainly prefer it than a Gameweek 3 wildcard. Batman says, I predict a Joao Pedro fall-off if Chelsea don't sign a new number 9 or Jackson comes back. He needs to play with a number 9. Yeah, I think so. I think Joao Pedro will have his best football playing off a Delap or, well, a good striker. I don't think Jackson's terrible. I mean, let's not forget he had a good end to that last season with Pochettino, basically, or his only season at the club. And he also had moments in the previous campaign. He actually started last season quite well. But yeah, with Chelsea, who knows who they're going to go for at this point. But yeah, the fact that Jackson has been recalled, I'm not even sure if they will go for a number 9. I mean, that was maybe a bit surprising. The fact that it seemed that Jackson was done in the morning. We talked about this in the deadline stream. You know, Jackson to Bayern, €50 million loan fee, which is insane, to be honest. And now he's going to be back with Chelsea. Semenyo and Palace defender almost locked in for next week. Yeah, and take your pick from Palace. I wouldn't go for Dean Henderson. I know you said Palace defender, but for those that say, can't I just go for Henderson? I don't think so this season, because Lacroix will be even better value with DEFCON. Daniel Munoz has so many avenues to points. And even the likes of Mitchell. Mark Gay is linked with Liverpool still, so I would probably avoid that for now. And Chris Richards is pretty decent at 4.5 million. So you can have so many different options in that Palace defence, but it's between Munoz or Lacroix for me. Do you consider Newcastle new striker? Yeah, Nick Waldemada, £69 million from Stuttgart. Do I back him to get a lot of goals? I mean, look, kind of a gut feeling right now. I think he scores on his debut against Wolves. I don't think he'll score that many goals. If I had to make a prediction right now, I think he'll score 12 Premier League goals. We'll see how that ages by the end of the season. Do I even remember this? Maybe I should write it down. But yeah, I think he'll have a decent start, but ultimately it will take him time to bed in. And Newcastle still need more. I think Visser could come in still. They might play together, and that could be a nice striker combination. I don't see Strand Larsen going to Newcastle now, though. Because that just seems like what Newcastle was lacking. They create loads of chances. Yeah, look, maybe I'm underestimating the number of goals that Nick Waldemada will score. Just call him Nick, by the way. But yeah, I think 12 to 14 Premier League goals is a realistic target. He could definitely do that. And he's shown a lot of promise at Stuttgart and for the German under-21 side. Yes, been waiting for this. I haven't. No, I'm joking. It's still fun. But obviously, I'd like to have some more points on the board and actually players featuring, which would help me secure Green Arrow. Yeah, Bruno celebrating like he won the World Cup. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a first for Portugal. No, okay, I'm joking. Sorry, any Portuguese fans, you'll probably win it one day anyway. But yeah, it seemed a bit, I mean, fair play. You know, it's a last-minute equaliser or winner. I'm not going to hate on that because I think people are like doing the celebration police. I felt it a lot of times with Arsenal. I mean, it's fun to take the piss, but yeah, ultimately let them celebrate. And United were desperately in need of that victory. I think they deserve to win. But yeah, it is Burnley at home. You would expect them to do that. Let's see how they do against Man City. Bruno Fernandes is on 99 goals for Man United. Let's see if he can make it 100 in the Manchester derby. Twan says, should we go and die to Grealish, Dylan? I don't really think so. Look, Grealish has been very impressive, but I think Ndiaye will score more goals. And ultimately, if you've got an Everton midfielder, I think you just keep them. I mean, assuming it's Dewsbury Hall, Grealish or Ndiaye, I don't think moving from one to the other is necessarily a good use of a transfer, but that's just my opinion. Great free hit with Enzo, Bruno, Sanchez, Chalobah, Grealish, and waiting for Chris Wood, captain, and Ndoye and Milenkovic. Only fail Richarlison. That's a great start. I'd be very confident if I were you. Yeah, Richarlison. I looked at his record against Bournemouth, and he was originally in my top 10 captaincy list. You would have been able to tell in my deadline stream earlier, I removed them from that top 10, but I thought Spurs would score against Bournemouth. I got that wrong. Welcome, Ahmed. Hey, mate, hope all is well. Yes, and hopefully it is for you as well. Loving Dewsbury Hall today. Yeah, all the Everton attackers looked very sharp, even Beto, but yeah, I think just take your pick from the Everton attack. I wouldn't go for the forward. I think just go for one of those cheap midfielders and you're good to go. Just on 11 points now from 3 players. Yeah, you can't really judge it just yet. If you've got 8 players left, that could definitely change tomorrow. Anderson coming in for Dorgu and don't own any United attackers. Well, the good thing is that Joachim Anderson secured DEFCON. Only just, so that will help a lot. Wolves Millwall game going to be fire in the Championship next season. Yeah, maybe you will say Wolves are finished as your next YouTube name. Ahmed says, had to get Wood in for this game week. Sold Ev Anderson, and he goes and scores. Yeah, I do feel for you there. I would have probably recommended that transfer as well, but look, with Ev Anderson, I think he's another difficult one to kind of predict. I still think Chris Wood is a better asset long-term, and even Mateta as well, but there will be times where Ev Anderson is the one doing the business, and Semenyo is disappointing. He should have scored today, by the way, but he has never scored or assisted against Tottenham Hotspur in his career, and to top things off, Semenyo was booked. So the most transferred in curse strikes once again, but not Gandhi. You know, no one's mentioning Gandhi now because Joao Pedro scored. The bloody twat. I have the Koipa and Diouf. Who should I sell them to? Yeah, so I don't mind an Aston Villa defender like Konsa, even Matty Cash, who could go up in price tonight. But to be quite honest with you, I would try to stretch out to an even more expensive defender, so Munoz or Lacroix if possible. I think that'd be a great transfer. And I still like the Forest defenders, albeit don't buy them against Arsenal way. Not in my opinion anyway. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But yeah, one of Lacroix or Munoz if possible. And then, if you've got the funds, a 4.5 million defender would be desirable. But it just depends because, let's say, for example, you buy that Palace defender and you've still got 2 other decent defenders and you can bench the Koipa and Diouf. You don't need to sell both of them in, well, obviously you'd be selling one of them anyway. You wouldn't have to sell both of them this week if you catch my drift. So maybe just stick with one transfer for now. I think Diouf is the priority sell, despite the fact that Brighton have worse fixtures until Game Week 9, and I would try to buy a Palace defender. I hope Chris Wood can do something. Picked him over Pedro. Yeah, well, in my case, I picked him over Bruno, and I took a -4 hit, so I really need Chris Wood to deliver tomorrow. Yes, exactly that, Ahmed. I think a lot of us are in that boat. Who knows at this point? I mean, Watkins let me down last week. Chris Wood, we'll see what he does. Jose the Special Mo says, I took a -4 hit, Palmer, Guiu, Rota to Pedro, Sarr and Ndoye. At the moment, 33 points. Bruno captain, and I've 7 to go. Yeah, that's a great position to be in. The players are also decent. I think I'd only see 1 or 2 blanks from those 7. Maybe it could be more, but I think with 5 returns from the rest, you could get to 70, 80 points quite comfortably. Cylindra says, got 8 players tomorrow, including Haaland captain. Hope we do well, Dylan, since you also got 8 players. Yes, and I've also got a captain, a forward as well, from tomorrow. Should be fun. FPL this season. Yeah, it's quite competitive and difficult. I actually did much better at this stage last season. The fall or drop-off started in Game Week 4, if I remember correctly. Maybe Game Week 3. But yeah, it has been a bit of a mad one. After much debate, I decided Salah, not Bruno, because I didn't trust United. Looks like it might backfire, but he was on nothing special until the last-minute penalty. Well, yeah, look, ultimately that's why penalty takers can be so appealing, and they can salvage a poor performance or a blank and just turn it into a 10-pointer out of nothing. And obviously Bruno Fernandes got DEFCON, 2 bonus points, and that's the main appeal with Bruno. And I do rank him higher than Mbeumo and all the other United attackers, of course, but yeah, ultimately he is a little bit overpriced right now because United haven't clicked yet. They scored 3 goals today, but one's a penalty, the other's an own goal, and ultimately they create the chances. They should have won more comfortably, and it came down to the last few minutes. So they are a work in progress, but against the likes of Man City and the big teams, I think United will have some good performances and results. So, disgusted Fulham fan here. 9 team of Gabriel, Murillo, Anderson, Reinders, Rodgers, Salah, Haaland captain to go. Yeah, 19 points is quite poor, but, well, not poor. It's kind of like average, maybe underwhelming, but I wouldn't really look too much into it because you have the numbers and also top quality players like Salah and Haaland, who is your captain to go. So you should be fine. And yeah, I haven't even spoken about it here. I made a tweet about it earlier, but yeah, that Chelsea-Fulham game was a disgrace. I mean, the officiating is terrible, but we are used to it by now in the Premier League, right? Why did you bench and die? He is our main man. I mean, he only got 7 points, mate. I mean, the kind of regret is from the fact that I did it last few seconds in the last minute of the deadline stream. We'll see if Reinders does well tomorrow, though. I mean, if Reinders scores, he matches it, he might even get bonus points. So you can't fully judge it yet. At the moment, it's not looking good because I also could have bought in Bruno Fernandes for free instead of Chris Wood and Sarr for a hit, but only time will tell. Will Jackson return to Chelsea? It looks like it, yeah. I see Captain Wood, man of culture. Pause. Yes, but ultimately I want points, not culture tokens and stuff like that. I mean, ultimately you want both, but yeah, we need him to deliver tomorrow. Basuna says, hey Dylan, nice to see you again. Ndai killing it for me. Currently 1 million rank, 5 to go. Yeah, Ndai saved me a little bit last week. I'm a bit frustrated with him this time round, unless I get some bench jam and someone in my front line misses out, but that's not going to happen. There's almost no chance of that being the case. A Chris Wood haul would do a world of good. It would, but I'm not as confident now, but I think that just comes from seeing that late Bruno Fernandes penalty and also Ndai scoring in my case. So unlucky with Strand Larsen, had a Dingra first on the bench and Goodmanson second. Hopefully nothing serious with Strand. Yeah, obviously I talked about this yesterday in the lineups video and in the deadline stream today. And I saw that news, by the way, and I did say it on my channel. I even showed you the final predicted lineups in the stream earlier. And I had Hwang Yi-chan starting. He obviously scored against Everton. And I said Trent Larsen won't play because that's what the information said from a reliable Wolves journalist. Yeah, I agree. I think Bruno owners were a bit fortunate, but players like that with the penalties will always have that sort of safety blanket and another route to points, which is why I keep saying Bruno might not be the most exciting pick, but he's got so many avenues: DEFCON, goals, assists, set pieces, penalties. So that's why he is a decent FPL asset still. Hi Dylan, start Diouf or Murillo next week? Wow, that is a horrendous decision to make, I guess. I mean, Murillo has had a terrible start to the season. I am expecting him to come good. And against Arsenal, I think Murillo could get DEFCON, actually. So he can still salvage 3-4 points if Arsenal go on to score a few goals. West Ham should be up for it against Tottenham, but you'd still expect Spurs to score some goals there. I'm going to say Wan-Bissaka right now. That isn't locked in, though. I'm on Wildcard Gameweek 4. Activate now to catch price rises. Well, yeah, if you're committed to it and you're absolutely convinced you're going to play the wildcard, you might as well do it now and you can catch some price rises and build your team value. But I'd still reconsider it if possible, but if you're sure, just play the chip. Jacob the Lima says, bought in Dango this week. A bit disappointed, honestly. He might just be my 8th attacker for the foreseeable future, though, so not all bad. Yeah, I had Dango, or I discussed him in the alternative section of my best free hit team video. He scored today, but it was disallowed. And with Dango, he can be very frustrating. We saw that with Bournemouth last season. And even the goal he scored in Gameweek 2, I'm not hating on him, by the way. It's a good goal. He did very well, but his first finish was saved by the goalkeeper. Then he got the rebound. So I just don't think he's a great finisher. And ultimately, he'll have good underlying stats, but I think he will underperform more often than not. Cylindra says, I started Dewsbury Hall Gameweeks 1 and 2. He gave 2 points each time. Now I benched him first sub and he gets 12 points. That's FPL for you, right? You're going to have some good things go your way. And sometimes you'll have these kind of late benchings or you'll switch a player who's underperforming. Then he does the goods. That's part and parcel of Fantasy Premier League. On 30 with 7 left and Salah captain. Yeah, that's a good position to be in. I would be with you if I went for Bruno, but there you go. Evening, Dylan and chat. Good to see you, Genius Gamer. Just wonder about 2 things. I have double Nottingham Forest mids in Doy and Anderson. Also a little frustrated with Larson. Have 0.9 million in the bank. Would you take Ivanoson or other mids below 6.4? Yeah, that's a great question. And ultimately, with Strand Larson, we don't know if he's going to stay at Wolves now. I mean, he just joined them, to be fair, permanently. So it does seem a bit strange. I think he will ultimately stay with Wolves anyway. And it all depends on the severity of the injury. But yeah, Ivanoson is probably a small upgrade at the moment, and Bournemouth have good long-term fixtures, but I do prefer Mateta and Chris Wood over Ivanoson still, despite Forest facing Arsenal in Gameweek 4. Yeah, it's a difficult one because with Ndoye and Anderson, they've got great fixtures after Arsenal as well. But I'd probably suggest... I don't mind starting Anderson against Arsenal. I think you can get DEFCON in that game, but Ndoye is arguably benchable. And if Strand Larson is unavailable for Gameweek 4 or is still a doubt, I think selling him could definitely be the way to go. But I would prefer Mateta or Chris Wood if possible. Bruno captain, Wood, Watkins and Mateta left. Yeah, that's looking good. You don't have too many players, though, for tomorrow. And the likes of Sal and Haaland could punish you a little bit. But yeah, if you've got the points in the bank, I think that's a good position to be in. 25th birthday, his partner gave birth and he scored a winner against Brentford. What a week for Isidore. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, to be fair. Was so angry I didn't captain Joao Pedro until Bruno scored. Yeah, so in the end you gained a point. Ultimately, you need some luck sometimes. I think Bruno Fernandes has had it, but he's got the penalties. So yeah, I mean, I'm not too surprised about his 10-pointer, but the way it happened is maybe a bit frustrating because I was so close to buying him. The one time I put Spurs players in my team, also got Chalobah on the bench, 11 points. It's the history of the Tottenham. Hoping Lewis doesn't play for City now. Well, it's possible. I think Matheus Nunes will start, and sometimes Pep Guardiola doesn't even bring on the other right back. So it all depends on game state and what tactics he wants to employ. But yeah, I don't think Lewis will start tomorrow, but that might not be a good thing because he could just give you 1 point from the bench. Thank you to Vijay. I just saw your super chat. Will Bruno get DEFCON points in every game? No. He was very close to getting them against Arsenal, and I believe he got them against Fulham, and obviously he did it today. But he won't get them every game. If I'm not mistaken, he did get it over 10 times last season. And that's why I talked about DEFCON a lot with Bruno Fernandes. And he's got multiple avenues to points, which makes him an appealing FPL asset. I'll probably regret not going for him in the end. But yeah, I just have to hope he blanks against Man City and in the future games as well. Got Dewsbury Hall on my bench. You're not the only one, my friend. And obviously I benched Ndai, so similar pain. Even though yours is probably a little bit worse. Hi, Dylan. Defensive didn't deliver 31 points, though. Defensive? Speaking of which, by the way, let's go through some different screens. I'll go through your questions and comments Obviously, I've been doing that up until now. Let's go to the FDR, the updated version. Probably should refresh this. That would be a good idea. So from Gameweeks 4 to 9, we have a new leader, Wolves. Not really the team you want leading the FDR. Leeds, Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Newcastle. That is the top 5. Whilst the bottom 5 include Brighton, Liverpool. Sorry, I can't even read. Sunderland, Brentford, Man United, and Everton. Liverpool are 12th, just for reference. With predicted points over the next 4 game weeks, Salah is top, Haaland is second, and Watkins remains third. Gyökeres, Mateta, Semenyo, Gakpo, Bruno Fernandes, Joao Pedro, and Ekitike make up the top 10. And with my Fantasy Football Hub team, the team rating is 93 and the game week rating is 86. But if I just click this optimize team button and the substitutions are made, then it goes up to 89% game week rating. And we'll see what they suggest with the AI. I just use that as a reference sometimes, but not too often. They actually recommend selling Wood, even though I just bought him in for a hit. They've been very bullish on Mateta. They recommended buying Semenyo and the Crystal Palace striker as part of a -4 hit this week. And yeah, I do like Semenyo long term, but I always felt he'd blank against Tottenham. I said this in the stream earlier as well. But yeah, maybe I'll regret not going for Fernandes and also potentially Semenyo in the future. We'll see how that goes, of course. With price changes, Ndoye, Chalobah, Vicario, Chris Wood, Lewis, Mbumo, Cash, Dorgu, Cullen, Neto could all go up in price. I mean, with Dorgu, for example, I think that could be prevented because obviously he was benched today and that could put people off from buying him so he doesn't reach that 100% threshold. So some of these might not happen. With price falls, Buendia, Andres Pereira, Harry Wilson, Okafor, Fulkrug, Soucek, Bellegarde, Obafemi. I think that's Abdullahi. Let's see what else we have. Joe Linton, Scarlett, Gavadio, McConnell, Scales. Yeah, I mean, the others aren't really too fantasy relevant, I guess. I mean, for those that have Barnes, a 4-point family and forward, he's also set to go down. Not all of these will happen. It's just a reference point. I would highly recommend you check out the website, livefpl.net. And yeah, ultimately, not all of these price changes will happen. But I think the ones near the top with over 100% already in the projections, yeah, that will most likely take place tonight. So the most captained player in the top 10k is Erling Haaland, but let's also bear in mind that a lot of the people that are currently in the top 10k will have had their captain feature, like Joao Pedro, who is second. So we could see this change by the end of the game week. I would expect Salah and Haaland to be the top 2 most captain options, despite not having the easiest of fixtures this week. And if we look at game week 4 very quickly using FPL.team, obviously I showed something similar in the Fantasy Football Hub section, but let's look at the expected points using this algorithm. It's currently 46.6, but if I bring in Gabriel for Murillo, that goes up to 48.5. I would also captain Salah, there's no doubt about it. I might even triple captain him, to be honest with you. I'd probably vice-captain Joao Pedro at the moment, but I'll talk about that in another video. You could even vice-captain Gakpo here, but sometimes I try to avoid this captaining and vice-captaining from the same team just in case, in the very unlikely event you get a cancellation or postponement. You know, you don't want to leave yourself struggling there, but Salah and Gakpo would be up there for me, probably the 2 best from my 15-man squad. And Ndoye could also find a way into my starting 11, but yeah, that's between him and Reinders at this moment in time. Or I'll bench Chris Wood and go all in on Arsenal. The expected points does go up to 55.5, but with 0.7 million in the bank, I'd still be tempted to make a transfer here. So I can't get Semenyo. I am priced out of that, unfortunately, but I could go for Kudus still or a different midfielder at this price point and below. But I can't see myself going from Ndoye to Grealish or Dewsbury Hall. I just don't really think that's worth it. They've all been performing well in the last 2 game weeks, especially Grealish and Ndoye. So yeah, I think rolling the transfer is a possibility. But guess what? There's an international break. We could get some late, returns from those friendlies and competitive games. We could also see injuries, and that could also shake the pot a little bit. Maybe force me to wildcard. But at the moment, if I were to use a chip, I think the triple captain is the most likely on Salah, and the second most likely right now would be that free hit. Wildcard is probably third on that agenda. I don't see myself bench boosting with Dubravka, Chris Wood, Reynildo Mandava, and Murillo, but those are my current plans. and you'll see my future videos, of course, transfer plans video and my team selection. I'll discuss that in more detail, and we'll have more information by that stage. And let's go to the positives. FPL challenge, yes, I'm actually cooking for once. 60 points. Robert Sanchez clean sheet against Fulham, although that was very fortunate. Tarkowski and Collins both conceded, but they got DEFCON, and both of them produced 11 points each. And by the way, Collins won a penalty, which Kevin Schade missed. Otherwise, we could be looking at a 14-pointer from Collins and maybe bonus points as well. Bruno Fernandes was my captain here, and he delivered 32 points at the death. I've also got Haaland and Chris Wood yet to play, but I have to say, my current plan here is to change the formation and go for yet another DEFCON potential player. So going for a back three or maybe a midfielder, so maybe Anderson from the same team there. But what I'm looking at here is selling Chris Wood for Lacroix. Tough fixture against Aston Villa. I think they'll concede, but he can get DEFCON, and that could mean another 11-pointer on the cards. So that is what I'm looking at. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And for those that obviously were telling me, you know, just go for 3 defenders, I think that is the right way to go about it. I just didn't have full confidence in Collins, even Tarkowski, to deliver, but they certainly did this week when it comes to DEFCON. And we got 10 points for that. Obviously, the challenge this week is called the Shield. So instead of getting 2 points for defensive contributions, you get 10. And that is why I got the massive boost in my points here. So there's another super chat in the building. I just saw at the corner of my eye. So thank you to Anish. I am on wildcard 4. Okay, a few wildcards flying around. Sells, Van Dijk, Senesi, Chalobah, Munoz, Salah, Gakpo captain, Sarr, Semenyo, Mateta, Joao Pedro, Dubravka, Wood, Reinders, Murillo. I like that a lot. In fixtures like Sunderland at home, I think that double up in the Palace attack could be very fruitful, but I still think long term they could struggle in certain games without Eze, and there's also the Conference League to think about, and it's just kind of a doubt in the back of my mind, but I certainly get the team. I get those picks as well. You've got a lot of squad depth, that's for sure. You're going to have benching headaches in a lot of weeks, to be honest, and you've got Salah in there still. Quite interesting that you're captaining Gakpo over Salah, but based on what we've seen so far this season and throughout the summer, that isn't a terrible shout. And yeah, I talked about skipping Chalobah. He got an 11-pointer today. So right now it's not looking too great of a shout. But yeah, it's looking quite decent. I like that team. Not many complaints from me. But I would maybe reconsider Murillo and also one of those Palace attackers. For example, you've already got Joao Pedro and Chris Wood. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, to be fair. That is fine. I don't have too many complaints, to be fair. Senesi also with a DEFCON potential, but I think Murillo is one to reconsider. Good fixtures coming up, but he hasn't got the DEFCON so far. If he doesn't tomorrow against West Ham, which is definitely possible, then maybe you have to rethink that pick. That's my least favourite of the 15-man squad so far. I captain Tarkowski and challenge 22 points. Yeah, that's a good score there. Tarkowski doing the business. Mishi saying Borro. Yeah, 5.5 million for a Spurs defender. Not great in hindsight, but I mean, he got 2 clean sheets out of 3, so... Oh, Porro just got DEFCON points. See, I'm now no longer 3.6 million or whatever, 3.4. Okay, so that's why people are saying Porro. All right, we're back in business, boys. Come on. I mean, I'm not even sure what that is then, because... I don't know, because my doubt right now is you're probably thinking, what are you doing, Dylan? I think it can come down to subjective things at times. I know they take the clearances, blocks, interceptions, and tackles from Opta, but if they can just change it all of a sudden and they say, oh, Porro had 9 defensive actions and now he has 10. I mean, changing it a few hours before or after the game finishes, it's a bit like the bonus points. I've said this from the beginning. I think that was a change from last season. I don't like the fact that you can get, you know, changes to the bonus points. You know, just have that settled. You know, if, for example, a goal is later awarded to a player, I think in that sort of situation, that's fine. But otherwise, it's not really something I want to see where, in retrospect, you see DEFCON and bonus points being changed. Let me know what you think in the live chat. Maybe you think, just shut up, Dylan, enjoy the points. But it's just a feeling I've got about FPL. So let's see. With the points added, yay, we're looking a little bit better, boys. Pedro Porro with 4 bloody points. I need them. I really need them. Trust me. So I'm just going to update the graphics very quickly. Thank you to those in the live chat that pointed me in the right direction. But yeah, still not looking great, but it's better than nothing. So I'm now up to 19 points with a -4 hit. It's 15. Ugh. So 136 points so far this season. And the rank, I'll just have a look at livefpl.net and see what they're saying. But it's an improvement. So that's all I can really ask for. Come on, livefpl.net. Don't let me down. Yeah, the website is taking a while to load, so I think a lot of people are checking their ranks right now, even on a Saturday night. So yeah, that is what FPL can do to us. Maybe I have to check my phone then. It's a bit annoying, but there you go. Yeah, it's taking a while to get this up. Okay. Have they added Bodra's? Yeah, they have. Okay, so I'm now up to 3.4 million. I mean, we'll take it. But I'm not too sure about that sort of thing, to be honest. I've said that before. I mean, with this, it's maybe less subjective than bonus points, arguably, even though there is a system in place for that. But yeah, I just don't like things being changed in retrospect, unless, you know, a player is rightfully given a goal or something like that, or an assist when they should have been. Otherwise, I just don't really see that being a good thing. So here we go. You will see my updated points and the rank now. So once again, thank you to those that said it. And now, let's go back to the questions. Drop a like if you're enjoying this. Subscribe to the channel. We are closing in on 35,000 subscribers, and I think maybe 1 or 2 weeks after the international break, we will be reaching that goal. We are approximately 100 away, so in given time, we will reach yet another goal on this channel, and it's all thanks to your support, so appreciate it. And join the Discord server, check all the links in the description, and let's grow all the social media platforms and keep ourselves updated for UCL Fantasy and FPL. On 41 points with 6 to play. Yeah, that's a good score and a healthy number of players. I'm not sure which ones they are, but I'm assuming some of them are pretty decent. Welcome, Beardy. Good to see you. My captain scored 2 points. So far, I have 21 with a -4 hit and 6 players left to play. Yeah, good number of players left. The score is a bit disappointing. I also feel the same way. And yeah, the captaincy is always a bit frustrating there. What have Brian ever won? The Playoff Cup. What's this Brian hate I'm seeing? No, Gary. Hopefully not, anyway. Back-to-back 2 points from my captain. Yeah, that's very frustrating, to be fair. Cash, keep or sell? I'd say he's a keep for now, and he's going to go up in price, so don't sell him tonight. I think that'd be a mistake, but either way, you would need to gain 0.2 million in value to then gain 0.1 million in selling price. Goodmanson was pretty good, yes, and I think he got bonus points, which I mentioned before, but as a 4 million defender, he's not too shabby. The same goes for Mandava, but yeah, ultimately you don't want to start them too often. Senesi seems to be the best 4.5. Yeah, it looks like it right now. I am maybe considering him if I were in the market for that sort of price tag, but I'd also be tempted by Lacroix and also Daniel Munoz. I think a Palace defender would be top of my agenda very soon. Yeah, Vijay, I don't think Bruno is necessarily in good form. He scored a late penalty against Burnley. He played well against Arsenal and also today. Against Fulham, not so much, and he obviously missed a penalty. But yeah, I don't think one penalty suddenly means he's in good form, to be quite honest with you. But he's on 99 goals for United. Could he make 100 in the Manchester derby? It's certainly possible. But I don't like United's fixtures, which includes Chelsea in Gameweek 5. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't go for him. But at the moment, I am feeling a bit of regret. Pitch side with the port says, had Dewsbury Hall on the bench? Yes. Like I mentioned earlier, the plan is to do UCL fantasy content next week, so during the international break. And also with the game right now, if I'm not mistaken, the fixtures haven't been added yet because they were still calculating like the order of fixtures. So yeah, once that's done, I'll start making videos and building a draft because at the moment I haven't done anything when it comes to UCL fantasy, but I have checked the prices and obviously analyze some of the fixtures, but I'll be doing that in more detail over the next couple of days. Cucurella and Joao Pedro keep letting me down. Not owning Joao Pedro is the biggest mistake. Yeah, but Cucurella thankfully only got 6 points. He was on course for bonus, but that changed. Yeah, Cucurella is going to be one of the outstanding defenders this season, especially if he can add goals and assists now to the DEFCON and the clean sheets. Thoughts on Gay if he moves to Liverpool? I mean, considering Konate's form, I think Gay could start over him, but it's not a guarantee. If you do have an entry point into that defence at 4.5 million, that would be very appealing, and I think Gay will get a lot of DEFCON, especially in difficult fixtures. But yeah, I think that's a wait and see for now, and ultimately Van Dijk will offer that certainty of starts and more goal threat than Mark Gay. Josack19 says, I had Saka and Palmer and sold them to Elanga and Gakpo. Now have 6 million in the bank. Who to buy? Well, Elanga should start against Wolves at home in Game Week 5, and Gakpo should start tomorrow, and he's been in great form, so I'd definitely keep him unless something happens over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, Elanga is a possible sell. I never expected him to be benched until I saw that NUFC Will tweet earlier, which I talked about on this channel. But even then, I wasn't fully convinced about it, and ultimately, no Newcastle source seems to be reliable. But yeah, I think Elanga is a possible sell, and I would go to Semenyo actually, or Ismail Assar. El Hassan says, played free hit this week, based on my team, 44 points with 4 players left, including Robot Captain. Yeah, I'm not sure who the other players are, but it's a decent score, and yeah, I think you'll probably get 70 points by the end of it. I'm expecting Haaland to score once against Brighton at least. Dorgu to remove, if yes, then who? Well, people are asking about the best 4-point family defender, and at this moment in time, it looks like Senesi from Bournemouth. He got a good assist for Evanilson, a bit fortunate with the deflection it took, of course, but it was a nice pass into the penalty area, and he's getting DEFCON points every single week. Thoughts on selling Bruno for Enzo Fernandez? Bruno's just so deep during open play, so could be saving a lot of money. Yeah, Enzo won't be on penalties when Palmer's back, but it's good to see they second in command, I guess. Enzo is obviously going to do well this season, and I talked about this in the Club World Cup. I'm more keen on him now as a fantasy asset than I was last season, and especially compared to the years before that. But I'll be honest, I'd be looking at Semenyo. Curtis is still an option for you. An Everton midfielder is fine, but yeah, it's probably Semenyo or Sarr for me, if you wanted to go there. Justin says, I have Haaland and Watkins. If they blank, should I go with Pedro and Ekitike? I'm not so sure about that. Good players in, and I think Joao Pedro and Ekitike could do very well in Game Week 4. But Haaland against United at home, if United play that way again, yeah, I could see City scoring a few goals there at the Etihad, but City are a weird team to predict. I think they can demolish teams, but they can sometimes just be very vulnerable defensively. And that can also in turn lead to Haaland having fewer opportunities. Watkins, I think we can fully analyse that after tomorrow, but as things stand, I think what I'd be more inclined to do is sell Watkins to Ekitike, actually, especially with Liverpool facing Burnley away in Game Week 4. The problem with Ekitike, though, is if Liverpool sign Isak before the transfer window closes, Ekitike suddenly becomes less appealing in FPL. So yeah, that's going to be the tough one. Joao Pedro saves you money there over Ekitike, and he's going to be nailed on for Chelsea. He's going to play multiple positions. Yes, the minutes aren't completely secure, but he's going to start virtually every single game there in the Premier League. Let's hope Marinakis doesn't take his anger out on a baker in Greece again if Forest don't win against West Ham. I just hope Forest win, to be honest, and Chris Wood score some goals. That's all I want. And a clean sheet, but I'm asking for a lot there. Sarr for Cunha. Yeah, or Semenyo as well. Brilliant header by Cullen for United's first goal. Yeah, it's a shame. Disgusting decisions for Chelsea against Fulham. I agree, Thomas. I mean, horrendous decisions, but I'm not surprised. The referee, Robert Jones, is terrible. So are most referees in this country, if not all of them. I know it's a tough job, but they don't make it easy on themselves, do they? ZT Tech says, I don't want to sell Verts now, and I need Joao Pedro. Should I do Murillo and Strand Larsen to Senesi and Joao Pedro? I'd say yes. That looks like a better option. Thoughts on Thiago? Can he be the Brentford penalty taker? Well, he took the penalty in Game Week 1 when he scored Brentford's only goal against Nottingham Forest. So I think that's fair to say. Igor Thiago is probably first on penalties anyway. Obviously, Sharda was the one who took it this time, and he wasn't in that Game Week 1 squad. But Yeah, I think Igor Thiago could be on penalties, and he obviously converted the one in the opening game week, so that's fine. I am on 27, 6 to play. Not bad. Tottenham loss hit hard. Not for me. And Dorgu not playing screwed up this game week. Yeah, that's very unfortunate, but then again, United conceded twice anyway, right? But once you see that on the team sheet, it gives you less confidence in that asset. But yeah, I think Senesi is definitely one to look at 4.5. It's hard to ignore him. And to get, 11 points against Spurs away? Or 14 points, actually. That's very impressive. Yeah, so Boro Defcon. Thankfully, I got some points. I picked Dorgu over Euro on my wildcard. At least Amrim kept him out, so I can get Lacroix off my bench. Yeah, I think with Lacroix, he'll concede, but he can get Defcon. I'd be expecting 4 points, maybe 3 from Lacroix, but he is a good asset. I like him. Yeah, I don't like Sesko in FPL, and I thought he'd start today, but I still discussed the possibility of Cunha playing up front and Mount on the left. We've seen that in the Premier League games so far, and it's happened again. But yeah, Sesko didn't even come on for Cunha. It was actually Xerxes. That's quite telling in my opinion. So I just wouldn't go for Sesko right now. I would sell him even for a -4 hit. The best one for this week at a similar price is Mateta. I think that's the way to go. Hi Dylan, what would you say is the biggest lessons you've learned from the first 3 game weeks? That's a great question. Have I learned any lessons? Maybe not, but I think it's probably not to judge things too quickly, because with Sunderland, people had obviously great expectations against Burnley going into Game Week 2. They obviously lost that game, and there might be some patterns that are yet to be identified. For example, Sunderland have won 2 home games so far this season and look solid at the Stadium of Light, but then away from home against Burnley, they deserve to lose. And I think a lot of games will be quite tight, and the gap, I think, between, let's say, those clubs from 5th and below, compared to the top 4, will be massive. And I still think, personally, that Arsenal, Liverpool and City are on a league of their own. Then you've got Chelsea as the outright 4th best, and then there's a gap between them and the rest of the pack. Murillo's had a good start to the season, just not FPL. Yeah, that's what I meant when I said he's not had a good start to the season. I'm talking about FPL and his returns. We have also won the Charity Shield and a few Division 1 and 2 playoff trophies. Yeah, I'm not sure where the hate is coming from, to be fair. Yeah, Tarkovsky's good. He was in one of my last drafts, actually, and he would have been better than Murillo up until this point, but maybe I'll feel differently if Murillo can get a goal against West Ham and also Defcon. I've got 43 with 6 left. Spurs the only disappointment so far. It won't be the first time nor the last. Twister Parky saying, get in. Pedro Porro just got given Defcon. Yeah, perfect result for me. Spurs lose, I get points from their player. Haha. Bruno and United so lucky. Yeah, I agree. Then again, on the balance of play, they probably deserve to win. But the way it happened, of course, that late penalty, I mean, yeah, Jadon Anthony, what was he thinking? Pulling Ahmad like that. But there you go. Another 2 points in my second team. Every little helps. Mourinho to West Ham. I wouldn't rule it out, but he's not a long-term solution or manager. Yeah, wow, great for Boro owners. Yeah, 2 points is still a nice little boost, and it goes to show that Defcon can be important. So with Cunha, let's see what the results are with him, but I'd be looking at Semenyo for sure. Then one of Ismail Assar. Kudus is fine. Everton midfielders like Dewsbury Hall, Grealish and Dye. I think my favourite would be from Game Week 4 onwards. Yeah, it's between Semenyo and Sarr. Last season, I free hit triple Spurs against the Leicester team that hadn't scored in 11 games. Guess what happened? Yeah, I mean, El Kanous scored, right? That is Tottenham Hotspur for you. Keep Cunha. Well, keep him for now and wait for more information. I think that's the best thing you can do. And you might get other injuries and more pressing matters elsewhere. So, yeah, keep him for now, but I could see him being a sell. I don't think he'll be available in Game Week 4 as things stand. But remember, this is a reaction stream with my initial thoughts and takes. Some of them might age horribly. Some might age like a fine wine. But ultimately, this stream is just to kind of have our initial offers, initial thoughts and also ideas. And then we can develop them in future videos and streams. 5 left with 29. Free hit just doesn't feel good. Still have bonus points to go. Yeah, if you want to check the bonus points and stuff, then go to websites like livefpl.net. But I get that. You'd be quite disappointed with that score on a free hit. Yeah, no worries, Josh. That's absolutely fine. I have Sanchez, Williams, Virgil, Romero, Cunha, Salah, Wirtz, and Dye, Kudus, Chris Wood, captain, and Joao Pedro. I like that a lot for Gameweek 4, actually. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Cunha might be your biggest issue. And I think Cunha to Semenyo or Sarr could work very well. And then, yeah, Chris Wood is benchable against Arsenal. He might not even start that game, which we saw last season off the back of an international break going into the Emirates as well. Thoughts on Hwang? He's had a poor start to the season, but obviously he scored today. If Strand Larsen is fit and staying at Wolves, I don't think Hwang Hee-chan will start again. Not up front anyway. So he's an avoid, in my opinion. It was a great goal, though. Fantastic finish. And the cross by Menetzi was incredible, in my opinion. But I wouldn't go for any Wolves assets right now. Slippy T says 42 points, captain Joao Pedro, and got Reinders, Ekitike, and Salah to go. Yeah, great score. Fantastic captain. Only 3 players left, even though you've got Salah, is a little bit, in my opinion, just a little bit shaky. But yeah, it's a decent score, I think, and hopefully you get a green arrow by the end. Josh says, I had Anderson in FPL Challenge, so I'm happy because it was a last-minute decision. Oh, is that Joachim Anderson? If so, then yeah, you got the DEFCON secured. Piero has to go. I remember you told me he was only going to play the first few weeks, so I appreciate your warning. Cunha has to go. I really thought he would do so well. Well, he might have done. He's only played Burnley twice. He got an assist, but that early sub obviously killed a lot of captainers and Cunha owners' hopes, but, you know, that's just bad luck in the end. Yeah, Piero, I'm a bit surprised about this, but he did play poorly in the Carabao Cup. I didn't expect Nemecha to start, to be fair, but some Leeds fans were talking about this in the last couple of days. And yeah, you've also got Calvert-Lewin. I still think Leeds need a striker. They need more quality in that attack. They're not going to score many goals this season, I think. And to be honest, they haven't scored a single goal so far, but hopefully that changes very soon. Charlie Reed says 43 points with Haaland captain, Eze, Sarr, Murillo. Sorry, let me correct that. They have scored a goal. It was from a penalty, of course, against Everton. But yeah, that's not looking too good. Haaland captain, Eze, Sarr, Murillo, and Raya. Okay, so double Arsenal. I hope that goes extremely well for you. And Ismaila Sarr and Murillo too, because I've got them. Haaland captain, maybe not so much, but that's the most likely to give you something. Yeah, I think you should be fine. 60 plus points is definitely attainable, possibly even 70, depending on Haaland's returns tomorrow. Who do you think are the best 3 forwards in the next 3-4 game weeks? Mateta, Joao Pedro, and Erling Haaland. I mean, Chris Wood is arguably there. I just think the Arsenal fixture lets him down a little bit, so he'd be 4th. Deadly for you too says, hi Dylan, I ended up benching Reinders, Gabriel, Esther for Gameweek 3 and played and die. Fair play. I wish I did the same. However, Spurs, Borro and Kudus cost me. Well, Borro did get 2 additional points from DEFCON. If you refresh the page, you might not be happy with that, but 4 points isn't too dissimilar to the 5-pointer against City or the clean sheet against Burnley, so it's not too bad from him. Maybe next week he'll get 3 points. Easy says, ready to triple captain Salah against Burnley. I'm also ready, but I'm also open to the free hit, and yeah, the wild card isn't impossible for me. Salah 2 goals and 1 assist versus Burnley. I mean, Burnley are that bad. I mean, I could just say something like, I'd rather Salah blanks than Burnley win, but that's not going to happen, so I might as well get some points from Salah, I think. City says 1.3 million, 15 points off 2, with Munoz, Murillo, is that Reynate Nuri? Indoy, Sarr, Gakpo, Reinders, Watkins, Haaland captain. Yeah, that's a big day tomorrow. You'll be fine. I'm very convinced about that. Joao Pedro, he could start from the bench because of international duty. Yeah, exactly that. I think that could throw a spanner in the works. Chris was another one, like I mentioned before. So players like Mateta might have the advantage, actually, going into Gameweek 4. On 49 in challenge with 3 to go. Yeah, that's a good score, and you've got 3 left. And if you've got a defender or 2 in there, or some DEFCON players, so to speak, that could easily be 80, 90. Worst Spurs team I've seen in ages. Worst performance from Spurs in a while, maybe, but let's not forget, I'm not taking the piss, by the way, they did finish 17th last season, but obviously they won the Europa League, and Thomas Frank's had a good start. I think that's a bit harsh, because against PSG, they were 2-0 up, had a great performance against one of the best sides in Europe. Then they beat Burnley 3-0, standard stuff. They go to Man City and win 2-0. So yeah, they were outclassed today by Bournemouth. A great job by Iraola, but it's not the worst Spurs team in ages. I don't think so. What to do with Barnes? Yeah, it's a shame. Great record against Leeds, but didn't start the game, so that set the tone from the beginning. I'd sell him. So one of Sarr or Semenyo is probably what I'd be looking at. Thoughts on Grealish? Great start to his Everton career. If you have Ndai or Dewsbury Hall, I wouldn't be selling them to Grealish. So the same goes for Grealish owners. You keep what you have, and he's definitely one to watch in FPL. He's had a great start. He's getting the assists. You'd like him to add some goals now, of course, but yeah, to be honest with Grealish, I'd still be prioritizing Sarr and Semenyo at a similar price. David says, Dylan, I'm #1 in the entire world for highest team value. You did get me there. You got me in the first half. Check me out on the FPL homepage. Nice. I want to see #1s, you know, flying around. #1 in rank, #1 in team value, #1 in expected points, even though that is a bit frustrating. But yeah, that's something new. I never expected that comment. Thank you very much, David. Hi, Dylan. How's it going, mate? Good. FPL-wise, kind of meh, but I've got 8 players left and a captain, so I think it'll be much better tomorrow. Fixtures are out. Yes, I'm aware the fixtures are out, but, well, I haven't checked the website today. Let me see. They've probably updated it then. Can I actually go to it? Let's see. Yeah, so as you can see here, that's just like a quick team I made. Almost auto pick, but not quite. Yeah, the fixtures haven't been added to UCL Fantasy yet. I realize they have been with the supercomputer and, you know, it's all set in motion. I know who's going to face each other first and stuff like that, but it hasn't been added to UCL Fantasy, the app and the website yet. So once it is, I'll be making videos and yeah, over the international break, there's plenty of time to produce as much FPL content and UCL Fantasy videos as possible. Let's go 916k now after Pedro. Yeah, I know you're a Spurs fan, obviously. I wonder what you think about the result, and surely you disagree with the person who said it's the worst Tottenham team in ages, even though the performance was concerning. On 43 points, Van Dijk, Haaland, and Wood left. Yeah, not too shabby. I would consider selling Chris Wood, though, to a DEFCON player like Lacroix. Caicedo, 23 defensive contributions is wild. Yeah, it's a good thing that you don't get additional points, as in, like, Caicedo would get, what? Actually, he's a midfielder, so that's a bit different, but imagine if all of this stacked up and you can get 4, 6, 8 points for a DEFCON. I think 8 would be impossible, to be fair, but yeah, we are capped at 2, of course. I'm on 25 points with 7 left. Wood captain, Salah, Ekitike, Sarr, Sells, Reinders, and Richards. Yeah, it's a good start. I wouldn't be too confident in Richards, but he can get DEFCON. And to be honest, Salah and Ekitike are good options, but more so for Game Week 4, in my opinion. And the rest looks very solid. Yeah, thoughts on Cash? He should start most games at right back. He always offers threat, but he doesn't really deliver with the goals and assists. Maybe that'll age horribly tomorrow, he's going to score, but yeah, he's fine. It's a decent entry point into that Villa defence. He's also going to get more DEFCON than Konsa, I think, but I'd rather go for Senesi from Bournemouth. Remove Porro for Munoz. That's definitely one to look at, but Porro's been fine. 6, 5, and 4 as returns, not too shabby. If he did that every week, I'd be happy. Akraf says, I activate the wildcard. Can you suggest players to buy that has a chance to increase in price to compensate for the price drops? I'm at 99.6 million in squad value. Well, I did talk about this earlier. I'll go for it now. So these are the potential price changes. Ndoye, Chalobah, Vicario, Chris Wood, Lewis, Mbumo, Cash, Dorgu, Cullen, Neto. Let me just give you the website as well. So just have a look at the live chat and make sure to click on that link. Drop a like on this video as well. I have answered dozens of questions today, which also includes a 3.5-hour deadline stream in the morning. And keep your eyes peeled for UCL Fantasy videos. They will return very soon. And tomorrow will be a day off, but I will be working in the background throughout the entire week on more FPL content, even though we've got a mini break, of course, with the international games. Yeah, I benched Dewsbury Hall. You're not the only one, mate. A lot of us did something similar with an Everton attacker. Feels like I'm the only one to own Enzo in this game. He's got low ownership, to be fair. That's a nice differential, but I think his ownership is around 6-7%. I'll double check that. And let's refresh this and see if, yeah, the bonus points have been added now. João Pedro, 9-pointer, which I'm not too happy about, to be fair, but it's points, I guess. Robert Sanchez, 6, and Borro, 4. It's a good start, to be fair. You know, 3 players, and I've got technically 3 returns, but it could have been even better. You know, I'm still ruining at the moment anyway, not buying Fernandes for Palmer for free and then starting in die because I would have had Mark Guillou on the bench. Then it would have been Bruno Fernandes captain. Yeah, I'd be on a healthy green arrow at the moment, but Chris Wood and Sarr could turn this from a negative situation into a great one by the end of the week. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. 53 points, not bad. Ekitike as well. Salah and Reinders left. Yeah, great score. Only 3 left, but Salah is a very good option, of course. And I think one of the other two could deliver as well. I'm on 5.1 million. The -4 has been a disaster unless Wood gets at least a brace and max bonus. Yeah, that could swing it the other way around, and that's what I'm hoping as well for my case. But yeah, it's early days still. But yeah, after that late Fernandes penalty, that's what stings. If he didn't do that and he blanked, he gets what, 2 to 4 points. I'd be very happy, but that is what kind of stung. Bring in a Palace defender? I think so. Munoz and Lacroix are the obvious standouts, but even Mitchell, Richards are decent options, and Mark Gay is still linked with Liverpool. I'm not entirely sure if it's probably worth investing right now. I'd wait until the transfer window closes before buying players like Mark Gay, but yeah, Lacroix and Munoz are great choices. As mentioned before, Omar, I would sell Harvey Barnes. The likes of Sarr and Semenyo are good choices to replace him. Connor says, yeah, I sold him for Sarr. Already? Or is this from before? Because, yeah, I remember answering your question or talking to you earlier, but I can't remember exactly what you put. Andrew Button says, absolutely disgusting week. Bought in Barnes and Cunha, played bench boost, and Adingra was benched. Torture again. Welcome to FPL. That can be, yeah, the case sometimes. It's frustrating. You made some good decisions on paper. I think if Harvey Barnes started, he could have done very well against Leeds. And Cunha's injury, there's nothing you can do about that. Adingra's benching was surprising. Yeah, it just all went wrong for you today with those 3 players. 31 points, Dewsbury Hall cooked today. Yeah, I think a lot of people would have benched Dewsbury Hall or sold him, so fair play on starting him. That's a good rank to be in, Slippy, 181,000. Gary says more Border points. Yeah, not bad. Best 4-cook replacement can go up to 10 million. I like Ekitike, but just be careful about Liverpool signing a new striker, which is probably going to be Alexander Isak. I like Mateta a lot, actually, over the next 3 or 4, so I'd say Mateta is the safest bet. Yeah, we're saying we can still save up to 5 free transfers, and in Gameweek 16, everyone is going to have 5 free transfers in their squads. So my recommendation is before we get to Gameweek 16 and AFCON begins, you want to basically use as many transfers as possible and be aggressive in those weeks leading up to it so you gain more transfers in the process. But sometimes doing nothing is the best thing to do, to be fair. Free hit, 7 points from 6. Elanga, Barnes, Cunha, Dango, Spence and Esteve, 190k to 2 million. That is very bad luck, in my opinion. You've had some good picks on paper. The only one, or the only 2 I would have kind of questioned are Esteve and Spence. But obviously you did say he's an auto-sub for Dorgu. Yeah, I think with the others, you're really, really unlucky. I had to play an Everton attacker. They had Wolves. That's fair. I expected a 1-1 draw, so I got that wrong. But yeah, it's just that last-minute decision of benching and die. I was 50-50 on it. I went for Reinders. I just have to hope that Reinders delivers tomorrow, or he misses out. Cheers, Dylan. Keep up the great streams, mate. Thank you, David, the player with the biggest squad value in the world. Big up. Thinking of free hitting this week. I only own Gakpo. What's your take? Well, if you're adding 10 players who, in your opinion, are of better quality than what you have right now for Gameweek 4, that looks quite good on paper. And for someone with 1 Liverpool player to then go to triple against Burnley away, that is a great strategy. And the free hit isn't impossible for me in Gameweek 4. I'm heavily considering it, but I'm also weighing up the triple captain on Mohamed Salah. Dan the Man says planning to roll until Gameweek 7. That's fair enough, but with an international break, games tomorrow, that planning could easily result in a transfer being made over the next couple of weeks. Am I missing anyone important except Salah, Haaland? Sells, Dubravka, Munoz, Nuri, Borro, Murillo, Esteve, Bruno, Palmer, Wirtz, Kudus, Reinders, Wood, Mateta, Watkins. It's a good squad. I like it. I mean, are you missing anyone? Maybe a Bournemouth player. So Semenyo, Senesi. That looks quite good in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of Dubravka and Estev. It worked well in Game Week 2 against Sunderland. I don't think it'll work very often this season. So even though it's a nitpick, I'd rather have Gudmundsson or Reinildo over Estev. Yeah, but it's a good team. I don't have many issues with it, to be fair. But you also will have benching headaches every week. And it's absolutely fine on a bench boost, but you can be frustrated from time to time with that much squad depth, in my opinion. The only one that I'd be happy to bench every week is Estev, to be fair. I took a -40 hit to get the #1 most valuable team, bear in mind. Yeah, that's why some people have second accounts to do that sort of thing. Forza BVB says UCL is better than FPL. I like both games. I typically do better in UCL Fantasy, and I do enjoy it more. I feel it's less template as well, especially towards the beginning of the tournament. So I do agree with you, but I still like FPL. Cheers, Dylan. Oh, sorry, did I read that? It's just, for some reason, the chat refreshed, so I didn't see which messages I've already gone through. I had to play an Everton attacker. Yeah, I went through that as well. So we're now up to here. Got 41 points of Haaland, Watkins, Nico Williams, Anderson, Reinders, Gyökeres left to play. Good score. Yeah, decent players left on the whole, especially the first two. I think Haaland will do well tomorrow. My captains have scored every week. Please tell the permanent captain Salah crowd that other players are allowed to get points. Yeah, but not to burst your bubble, it is free game weeks. There will be blanks along the way, but that is a great record so far. Obviously, I went a little bit rogue last week with Watkins. It was absolutely terrible. And if I stuck with Salah, I gained 3 points, which I would have taken, but it wasn't that impressive either way. Thoughts on buying Arsenal defender from Game Week 6? You could even do it from Game Week 4. Obviously, I bought Gabriel last week. I think they are relatively fixture-proof, but Liverpool away is such a difficult game, and it's not going to be easy tomorrow. Any thoughts? Yeah, I talked about this earlier. One of my big decisions for Game Week 4 will be, do I triple captain Salah, free hit, or wild card? I think the wild card is the least likely, and as things stand, I think the triple captain is what I'll go for, but it's not set in stone. David says, Dylan, what happens if we have 4 transfers saved and then Game Week 16 comes? Would I have 9 transfers? No. And that's why I'm saying I would urge you to use your transfers. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 transfer, 2, 3, 4, if you've got 5, or if you've taken a hit. Everyone is going to get 5 free transfers in Game Week 16, which I covered in my key changes to FPL video in the summer. So you can't stack up to 9 free transfers. 5 is the limit. Kevy says, hey mate, who would you swap Palmer and Strand Larsen for? Basically have 20 million for 2 players. Any advice? I think Mateta would spring to mind. I also like Ekitike. I wouldn't buy Chris Wood in Game Week 4, but he would be a consideration for Game Weeks 5 and 6. I mean, could you do something like Erling Haaland, then a cheap midfielder? That is a possibility, like Dewsbury Hall, if you want to be cheeky, but I wouldn't go there personally. And I still rank Ndai better than Dewsbury Hall, even though there is a big difference in price, to be fair. So yeah, it's probably going to be something like Mateta, and then you're going to go for something like Semenyo, and you'd have plenty of money in the bank to use on other areas, maybe buy Munoz at the back or Lacroix, and also make other upgrades. Best 4.5 defenders, Dylan? Yeah, with Gay, I'd wait and see first. If he goes to Liverpool, even then, he's not guaranteed to start against Burnley away. So that's a wait and see. It's probably Senesi right now, based on what we've seen so far. DEFCON points in 3 out of 3 games. He got the assist today. Don't expect too many goals and assists, but a few years ago, he had decent attacking output for a centre-back. So I think Senesi's my favourite right now, actually. The impotence of Pedro Porro needs to be studied. Well, he got 4 points. I mean, Spurs lost. They were crap. Porro was not that good. And he still got 2 extra points, so I'm going to take it. 14 points on my bench, Senesi. That is very frustrating. It goes to show that this season will be a little bit different. Obviously, you got the clean sheet today, which helped, but you can get some good returns from your bench simply because of DEFCON. And if a defender also adds a goal to it or a clean sheet, you're looking at monster hauls there when you least expect them. Of course, I had to bench Dewsbury Hall the week he gets a massive haul. A few people in the chat have said the same thing. It's a typical aspect of FPL. Ashwin says 11 points with Salah, Ekitike, Sarr, Rodgers, Watkins, Wood captain, Verts, Nico Williams left to go. Yeah, the score isn't good, but you've got a lot of players left. I mean, there is a triple up in Liverpool attack. I mean, I think one or two of them could get a return there, but Arsenal are going to be a tough cookie to crack. I'd like to think so anyway. And I do like your other players. You definitely need Aston Villa to click though, with Rodgers and Watkins. They obviously have been very poor so far this season. Thank you. We got a new member in the building. Let's read it out. So thank you to David Mortimer, who, once again, I have to repeat, he's got the best squad value in the world. So big up. I appreciate you tuning in. And you will get early access to my videos for an entire, well, not entire month, because you've signed up. So it's as long as you stay a member. Thank you very much for the support. Okay, let's go through a few other stuff as well. I think some people want to see what my scoreline predictions were. And we can also talk about my lineup predictions and see what I got right and wrong, if you're interested, of course. So let's go through these scoreline predictions and see what I've gone for. So Chelsea 2, Fulham 0. I got that correct. And ignore the rank, by the way, that was from yesterday. United 1, Burnley 0. It was 3-2 United. I went for a Tottenham win. So the only thing I got right from that game is the amount of goals Bournemouth scored. But obviously they won 1-0. Sunderland 1, Brentford 2. Correct scoreline, wrong result. So yeah, Sunderland won 2-1. And Everton got a nice win there away to Wolves. I predicted a 1-1 draw. And originally, I said 2-2 between Leeds and Newcastle. Then I switched it to 3-2. But that was before the news, obviously, of Elanga and Barnes not starting, which we got this morning and I talked about in the deadline stream. So for tomorrow's games, I've gone for Brighton 1, Man City 3. And all I can really hope for is for Rangers to get something there. I've gone for Nottingham Forest 2, West Ham 0, Liverpool 1, Arsenal 1, and Aston Villa 2, Crystal Palace 2. And if that's the case, hopefully Watkins and Sarr can get some returns. With the lineups, I actually want to see this. And, okay, we can ignore Arsenal. Obviously, that's my prediction for tomorrow. The same goes for Aston Villa. I'm going to kind of pause it on these teams. So Bournemouth, up until today, I had 22 out of 22 correct. And I do believe I got this starting 11 spot on again. So that would be 33 out of 33 for Bournemouth. So I'm just going to double check that. Yes. So I did get that lineup spot on there. With Brentford, I think this is another one I got correct. Yeah. So that was the starting 11 for Brentford too. So my total is now up to 29 out of 33 for the Bees. With Brighton, we'll wait and see, of course, against Man City tomorrow. And Burnley, I've kind of struggled with them this season. So Brun Larson did start on the right, Lara Foster up front. Yeah, so overall, this one was also spot on. So that takes my total to 29 out of 33. Not too shabby there either. With Chelsea, unfortunately, I did get one wrong here. I thought James would start, but instead it was Gusto. So that's 29 out of 33 for the season so far for the Blues, and Delap will be injured for 6 to 8 weeks. With Crystal Palace, it is a full set so far. We'll see if that continues tomorrow to make it 33 out of 33. And with Everton, I think this was spot on as well. Yes, it was. Mikalenko came in at left back, which I predicted as well. Actually, no, sorry. There was one wrong. I put Tiano Barry in the starting 11. It was Beto who ended up scoring the first goal in that 3-2 win. So, yeah, that will take my total to 30 out of 33 for the Toffees. Up the Toffees. With Fulham, I just can't seem to get them spot on this season. I keep getting it wrong. But in this case, what did I get incorrect? I think it was Harry Wilson starting. He was on the bench. It was Castagna who started there as the right winger. The rest was correct. So that's 28 out of 33 for the season. With Leeds United, I also believe this was almost spot on. Yeah, so the striker was incorrect. And the Nemecha started. And Pascal Struijk started alongside Rodon once again. I went for Biol. So that's 9 out of 11. So yeah, my impressive Leeds predictions have kind of fallen a little bit, but it is still 30 out of 33. Could be worse. With Liverpool, we'll see how they line up tomorrow. This is my predicted lineup. I think Bradley will come in at right back. And with Man City, who even knows at this point? But I saw people mention that Cherki is out for tomorrow's game. And from the beginning, I was quite bullish on Foden starting. The same goes for Doku on the other side. And by the way, some prices have changed from yesterday. These prices were accurate up until Friday, the 29th of August. So some of them will be out of date. With Man United, I got 2 incorrect, I believe. So Cunha started up front, Mount as the left forward. And we saw Dallo and Amad Diallo start with Dorgu on the bench. So that's 9 out of 11 for Man United. And that takes my total to 27. So I think the Red Devils have been my worst predictions so far this season. With Newcastle United, I provided this updated lineup after the news of Elanga and Barnes potentially missing out. So we did see something a little bit different from Newcastle, and I got 10 out of 11 correct in the deadline stream earlier. The one that I got a little bit wrong was actually Botman starting in a back 5 for Newcastle, which I didn't expect. So I expected Lewis Miley to start, but instead we saw Jacob Ramsey in the midfield, and then also Livramento, Byrne, Botman, Share, and Trippier. So that will take my total to 31 out of 33 for the Toon Army. With Nottingham Forest, I'm hoping to make it 33 out of 33 tomorrow, and also a handsome victory would be nice. With Sunderland, I think this was 10 out of 11, because we saw Lefay, I should say. He started over Adingra. The rest was accurate, and Roofs obviously saved the penalty, and he has been very impressive for Sunderland so far. And Tottenham Hotspur was a full house for the first time this season, so I'm now up to 30 out of 33 in Tottenham Hotspur's 1-0 loss against Bournemouth. So yeah, that's just been double and triple checked. Yeah, that was indeed correct there. And with West Ham, we'll see tomorrow. And yeah, that defense has been very shaky. And Wolves is the last team. I think this was actually spot on as well. I got 11 out of 11 correct. Actually, no. So Totti Gomez was suspended, and that was actually carried over to the Carabao Cup. So he was available here, but we saw Bueno as the left wing back, and Wolf didn't start. So this was 10 out of 11. The front three was accurate. Menetzi got the assist. Hwang Yi-chan scored Wolves' equaliser at the time. And yeah, pretty much that's my only incorrect prediction. It was Totti Gomez for Wolf, and Bueno played as the left wing back there for Vitor Pereira's side. So in the end with Wolves, that is going to be 29 out of 33 correct. So as you can see, my scores have been fairly decent so far with the predicted lineups. The only one that maybe is a little bit off is Manchester United. Let's go through your questions and comments, and very soon I'll show you my FPL Challenge team again, because I've got some good points there. Thank you to Mark. He says, love these reaction streams. They are a great service to the FPL community. Thanks for all your hard work. That's very kind of you. And I'm glad that people enjoy the Saturday night reaction streams. Sometimes I do it on Sunday as well. And it also depends, of course, on the deadlines and when the games actually take place. But yeah, these Saturday ones prove to be even more popular, and I do appreciate it. So thank you very much, and good luck for the rest of Game Week 3. Yeah, Kevy says he sees David on the front page, so he wasn't lying. And there's no reason to lie anyway. 25 with 6 left. Yeah, that's decent. That's not too shabby, especially if you got one of Salah or Haaland tomorrow. Thank you, David. Cheers, Dylan. Big up to yourself and to you. I appreciate it, and you've done something I've never done. I mean, best in FPL for something in terms of rank or squad value. Didn't expect it. Thought Spurs would win. So did I. Am I completely shocked that Bournemouth won? No. But the manner they did it, it should have been more than 1-0. I think it could have been 3 or 4 if it weren't for Vicario. I think Romero was also decent. The rest of that Tottenham team were quite poor. My free has 27 points on the bench. I feel for you, mate. That is not what you want to see. People had this kind of debate, and I completely get it. So in my free hit video, I discussed some good options on the bench, like Harvey Barnes, who obviously didn't do anything today anyway, but my recommendation is always to have as much money in your starting 11 and just go for enablers on your bench. Maybe one decent option if needed, but sometimes you have this situation where you're going for what you feel is the best 50-man squad and starting 11 for a particular game week, and you're not going for Salah or Haaland maybe, so that gives you extra money in the bank, so then you have good options on the bench, and that could also lead to a lot of points. And yeah, it will seem like a missed opportunity. Was gutted that Bruno returned. Otherwise, it was 3 to 4 points. Yeah, exactly that. Probably 4 points. Well, yeah. 2 points and then, yeah, 2 from the DEFCON. There you go. It is what it is. Do you think with Sells, Dubravka, Borro, Murillo, Konsa, Estev, Cucurella, Salah, Wirtz, Bruno, Dewsbury Hall, Reinders, Mateta, Watkins, Guiu, I need to wildcard? I don't think you need to wildcard with that, mate. I don't think so. Now, could you make a few improvements? Possibly, at least fixtures-wise, but I'd be happy with that in Gameweek 4, and I think Wirtz will do well either tomorrow or against Burnley. I'd be very surprised if you went to Gameweek 5 with no attacking returns. But in my case, I just hope it's against Burnley. Considering triple captain Salah, what's your thoughts? Yeah, no worries about that, mate. Absolutely fine. Linus J says best 4.5 defenders. Yeah, I think I went through this before, but my chat just keeps refreshing for some reason. But yeah, just for those that aren't aware, my favourite right now is Marcus Senesi from Bournemouth. IC, nice name, says 60 points with Salah, Reinders, Watkins and Nico Williams left to play. That's a great score, and yeah, that's going to be a green arrow for you, so really well played. Bonus points added on 37 free hit with Haaland captain, Anderson, Wood, Munoz, Milenkovic sitting at 4 million right now, looking at a wild card next game week. Yeah, decent score. I think on a free hit you might hope for better. I'm just speaking or just assuming what you're feeling right now, but you've got a lot of players left tomorrow, so I think that will be maybe doubled by the end of the week. Johnny says, thanks, great stream. Would you consider Grealish a must-have for that price? No, not a must-have. He's not even scoring goals at the moment, but he is getting the assists. I like the look of him, for sure. He was never an FPL consideration for me during his time at Man City, but at Everton he's showing a lot of promise. But I don't think he's a must-have, definitely not. There are very few players that I think are a must-have, so in my opinion, one of Salah or Haaland is almost essential, but even those that go without both of them can still do really well in Fantasy Premier League. Abhishek says, should I keep Johnson or should I sell him for someone like Sarr or Gakpo? Because it seems like he can be sub pretty early, but then again, they have West Ham coming up. Yeah, I said this about Brennan Johnson before. Good start to the season with the goal output, but his performances say otherwise. And throughout the summer, I think he was quite shaky, and a lot of Tottenham fans pointed that out. And with the signing of Xavi Simons, and also that UEFA Super Cup final where Brennan Johnson didn't play a single minute, all of those factors put me off Johnson from the get-go. I'd rather go for Kudus, who for sure won't get as many goals as Johnson, but he'll get more goal contributions with the assists in mind. At least that's the way I feel about it, and he's going to get way more minutes than Brennan Johnson. So I don't think Johnson is a must-sell, but I definitely wouldn't be investing right now, and I prefer Sarr, Gakpo, and also Semenyo over Brennan Johnson long-term. Heavy says, tempted by Ekitike Gakpo, but will wait till the transfer deadline closes. I think that's the best thing you can do. Even with Gakpo, I'm quite confident about him right now that maybe we see him become a possible bench option against Burnley away, and Liverpool could rotate and still win quite comfortably at Turf Moor anyway. So yeah, that's a great point. Ekitike will be brilliant if he can be the starting striker for Liverpool week in, week out. But if Isak signs, I don't think that'll happen. Maybe they play together and Liverpool go for a 4-2-2-2, or they go for something a little bit different, Ekitike on the left, but I think he's less appealing that way. I want him playing down the middle, as he has done in the final against Palace and in the 2 Gameweeks so far. Music Kiwi says, last week I captained Saka, gone off injured. This week I captained Cunha. That's really bad luck, mate. Hopefully your luck turns very soon with the captaincy. But yeah, sometimes with FPL it seems like when it rains it pours. Who knew Everton attackers were the team to go to for differentials? Well, one improvement we've seen under David Moyes is the attack. You know, compared to Sean Dyche, Everton are just having more freedom in their attacking play. They are conceding more goals, to be fair. Fewer clean sheets, but yeah, they've got some good value there with Dewsbury Hall, Grealish and Ndiaye. If you've got one of them, hold. I wouldn't switch from one to the other. And for those that are looking to invest, against Aston Villa at home, it's not a terrible fixture. And of course, for those looking to go for Grealish, facing his former club, there's a bit of a story there. But yeah, ultimately, my favourite from the three remains Ndiaye. I think he'll score the most goals, but Grealish will get the assists. Dewsbury Hall offers the best value, arguably, and they're all decent in their own right. Don't go for Beto or Barry, though. Fenerbahce says, glad I sold Spence to Livramento at least. After watching the last 2 weeks with a clean sheet, I still didn't really rate the Spurs defense as a whole, although they were popular transfers in. Yeah, that's a good shout from you. I also said this recently, I don't think Spurs will keep many clean sheets despite the first two performances. Against Burnley, if I remember correctly, they were a bit fortunate to keep a clean sheet. I think they were quite impressive, though, against Man City defensively and also against Paris Saint-Germain. But yeah, I think Spurs will do quite well in some of the big games this season. I think Thomas Frank can set up well tactically in those games, but against teams like Bournemouth, Brighton, I think Spurs could struggle, and we saw that today, but I still felt they would win. What amount of points for a bench boost would be classed as a success? It's kind of, it's very subjective, right? I say kind of 15 points as a barometer, but if you get 14 points, oh no, I got 1 point off 15. It's not the end of the world, is it? But yeah, if you get more than 15, I'd be quite happy with that. Burnley and Sunderland been competitive so far, better than expected. I know Sunderland not terrible fixtures. Yeah, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and the way they beat West Ham towards the end of that game was very impressive, and yeah, they got another victory today against the Brentford side that just won 2 games on the bounce. So yeah, it's good to see. You don't want to just see 3 championship clubs being promoted then going straight back down. We want to see some competition and not 17 Premier League clubs always staying in the league. You want to see a bit of jeopardy in there. FPL Foreman says 25 points on my bench. Petrovic, Diakate, Senesi with triple Forest defence to play. Well, at least you got the clean sheet against Wolves, I imagine, if you started all 3 of them in Gameweek 2. But yeah, for all of them to be on your bench this week, that is the beauty and also the ugliness, I guess, of tripling up on a team defensively, especially if you bench all of them at the same time and they keep a clean sheet. Yeah, same here. Jumanik, hopefully I haven't butchered your name completely. Wasn't expecting Senesi Hall, but we move. I still think I can get a green arrow. Triple Forest. Yeah, a lot of us are banking on Forest on Sunday. I didn't expect the Senesi Hall either. I thought we could get Defcon and give you 3-4 points, but not, what, 14 points in the end? That's insane. Perma Captain Enzo, if you want to finish outside the top 1 million, maybe. Maybe that's a bit harsh. Yeah, look, fair play for those that captain him and those that have him. I still don't really consider Enzo a captaincy option. That'd be Joao Pedro from Chelsea. Enzo Lafi, first sub on my first team. Can you replace Cunha? Unfortunately not. Ashwin says Watkins, Wirtz, Rogers have been really testing my patience. Problem is, can't even sell them due to upcoming fixtures. Yeah, that is the main difficulty. For those that started with Wirtz, you then look at Newcastle, who look quite shaky throughout all summer, so you're like, okay, I'm going to keep him for this. Then it's Arsenal, but you're thinking in the back of your mind, oh, there's Burnley away around the corner, and surely he's going to come good at some point. I think Wirtz will return in the next 2 fixtures. I just hope it's not tomorrow. But yeah, Watkins and Rogers will probably benefit from the introduction of either Guessant and or Daniel Marlon to the starting 11, with the likes of Anana and Kamara missing out tomorrow. I opted for Elanga instead of Bruno for Palmer, and was a howler. Lost almost a couple 100,000 ranks. Yeah, I did something a bit similar. Whilst it's not as bad as yours is maybe, because Ismail Assar is the one I went for, and also Chris Wood as part of a -4 hit, I still think I would have secured a lot of points by going for Bruno, who would have been my captain with that fortuitous late goal, and then also starting in Die. So that's a massive swing all of a sudden, but maybe Sar and Chris Wood can make me feel different. But yeah, the Elanga one is unfortunate. If you tuned in earlier today for the deadline stream, I actually covered the NUFC will post about Elanga and Barnes having an X to their name, which, well, from that you obviously gather they're not going to start, but I felt they were going to be left out of the squad. In the end, obviously, they were on the bench. They came on for a 1-pointer, but yeah, that's very unfortunate. Yeah, Doughty didn't start for Wolves. Okay, you are correct. So that's 29 out of 33 correct for Wolves. I'll update those. I'll probably do a lineups video for Gameweek 4. Not a guarantee, but yeah, for other Gameweeks as well, with the UCL fantasy content as well, and the quick turnarounds, it's going to be difficult to maintain that throughout the season, to be honest. Dewsbury Hall finally returned today. Yeah, it was a great finish, by the way. The Grealish assist, I mean, it's a good pass into Dewsbury Hall, but the finish is what made the goal, of course. In terms of Premier League, which players have impressed you? Ekatike, Senesi. I think Troffer really caught my eye in that opening game against Liverpool, despite the 4-2 loss. I would also... I'd say Elliot Anderson from Forest, really impressive. Reinders in Gameweek 1 obviously caught my eye, but the same goes for everyone and their pets, I guess. I was going to say, and their dog, because he was the most transferred in going into Gameweek 2. Other players, yeah, Caicedo's been really good for Chelsea so far. Calafiori for Arsenal. I think what I'll do is probably like highlight a player from every single team. So obviously I mentioned some already, but let's see if I can get some other names in here. So yeah, from Chelsea, it's going to be, I mean, Joao Pedro's an obvious one, but I'm going to say Caicedo. From Fulham, my favourite player so far, or the one that's been very impressive, I mean, Josh King was very unfortunate to have that goal disallowed. It shouldn't have been disallowed in my opinion, but he has a lot of potential. He's probably the one that's caught my eye the most so far. From Man United, who do you go for? Diallo was quite impressive against Arsenal off the bench, but yeah, quite mixed bag since then. Bruno Fernandes is obviously the talisman. He's always the best United asset. I think De Ligt has been United's best player, so I'm going to say him. From Burnley, difficult one. I'm not sure if anyone's been particularly impressive. I mean, Dubravka's been fine. Not much he could do with the goal today. The own goal by Cullen. Yeah, I don't think anyone from Burnley has particularly stood out. Obviously, Lyle Foster has done okay in the last 2 games, you know, covering in for Fleming and Broja, but I think that will change very soon. Yeah, probably Jadon Anthony. Yeah, he's been the best Burnley player so far. From Tottenham Hotspur, best player. Well, Vicario was definitely their standout today. There's no doubt about that. And so far this season, it's probably going to be, it's between Brendan Johnson and Richarlison. Yeah, that's a difficult one with Spurs. I'll probably say Romero. I think he's been the most consistent over the first 3. No Argentine tax, I promise. Yeah, Bournemouth, I mentioned a few. Semenyo's had the shot volume. He's always got a lot of shots in his locker. But I'd say Senesi and Truff have been my favourite players from Bournemouth. From Sunderland, yeah, I think Isidore has caught my eye. And from Brentford, it would be Igor Thiago, just with the goals, really. On penalties, obviously, in Gameweek 1. Sharda took the one today. Maybe that leads to a changing in the guard, but that isn't guarantee. Wolves is a very tough one. I struggle to pick out a player who's been impressive. Maybe Menetzi, who caused problems to Man City in Gameweek 1, and he got a great assist today. Not a great performance, to be honest, but he's got a bit about him in the final third. With Everton, it's Grealish or Ndiaye. I think Grealish is the one to watch, the most impressive player. Yeah, Newcastle's another difficult one. Probably Bruno Guimaraes, but yeah, even he's got another level to go to. And with Leeds United, best player so far, probably Goodmanson or Rodon so far this season. And yeah, with the other teams, I can still go into that if you want, but yeah, I'm kind of giving myself a challenge to highlight my favourite or the kind of standout players from every single club. What to do with Strand Larson? Probably sell. He could be available in Gameweek 4, but I think you can upgrade that to Mateta. If the funds are there, I'd highly recommend it. Yeah, Cunha is a wait and see, so wait for more information, but I think he won't be available for Gameweek 4. So my advice is to sell him. I think Sarr or Semenyo would be great replacements. Top 10 biggest flops or letdowns so far this season. I mean, it is early days. Very early days, but yeah, I'm going to say top 10 biggest flops. I mean, it's a bit harsh to say Saka and Palmer because they have been injured. I guess they count. I mean, Saka did score against Leeds, to be fair. Yeah, I think it's way too early to say. I'm probably not going to say either of them. Okay, flops. Surely someone's going to come to mind. In FPL, I'd say Murillo is up there because I had a lot of expectations with him for the first couple of Gameweeks. He has disappointed. Florian Wirtz is obviously one that everyone's going to be saying. I get that. So Florian Wirtz would be one. Hopefully he flops tomorrow, but I think he's going to be pretty good in the next 2 weeks. Yeah, that's a difficult one. Top 10. I'll stick with 5 for now and then see. But yeah, Marmoush, Wirtz. Cunha's harsh. He got the injury today. I think he played quite well in the first 2 game weeks. Anthony Gordon obviously got the red card in game week 2. Had a good performance against Villa with the most shots of any player. But yeah, he would also class as a flop there, in my opinion. Who else is there? Don't think Jared Bowen. Sesko hasn't really played much. I think he'd be another flop potentially so far, but it's early days. Yeah, and maybe you lot can add to the list, to be fair. Alanga, maybe. Martinelli, but he didn't even play against Leeds. I mean, he started against United, was quite poor, just like most Arsenal players on the day. But yeah, that's a few players for you. Surely there's more where that came from. 4 assists in 2 games for Grealish, caught us off guard, definitely. 1 or 2 assists would have been possible, but 4 is very, very impressive. Yeah, Anthony from Burnley's been decent, I agree. Grealish looking good. People saying Wirtz and Sesko, I agree with those two. It's just finding other names. I need to think about it properly. You could even say Rodgers has been a flop so far, but I do like him as a player. Looks like Fenerbahce have signed Ederson, Donnarumma on the way. Yeah, that's not good news for Trafford. But yeah, I mean, a lot is going to happen in the next couple of days in this transfer window, so stay tuned. Yeah, Watkins is another one. Hopefully he changes that tomorrow. Any Man United goalkeeper, that's a bit harsh. But yeah, Bayern was a bit shaky for the goals today as well. Hey Dylan, do you think Palmer will be back for Game Week 4? At the moment, I'd say yes. It's not a guarantee. He obviously wasn't selected for the England squad, which is natural. You want to protect the player, but yeah, I think Palmer. Yeah, Mateta did score in the Conference League qualifier, and obviously that sent Palace through. But yeah, in the Premier League, he has been disappointing so far. That's fair to say. So yeah, Watkins, Wirtz, Rodgers, Marmoush, who only got 1 start, of course, but he missed some big chances against Tottenham. Yeah, they would be up there for me. What are your thoughts to sell Fernandes for Semenyo for Game Week 3 and -4 for Wood? Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, that's similar to what I discussed today in my deadline stream. So I was looking to buy Fernandes for free. I ended up going for a -4 here, and I went for Sarr. Semenyo was another consideration, and also getting Chris Wood. Don't... Oh, for Game Week 3 you're talking about. I'm guessing you're talking about Game Week 4 then, right? You're not going to... You were never going to sell Fernandes going into Game Week 3, right? So yeah, that's definitely an option, but I think Fernandes could score his 100th goal in that Manchester derby. I'm not that intrigued by Fernandes against City and Chelsea as a whole, and I do prefer Semenyo, Ismaila Sarr, and other midfielders, but yeah, ultimately that 10-pointer at the end was a bit fortuitous, but that is one of the key reasons why you go for penalty takers like Bruno Fernandes, and as I've mentioned multiple times, he is very impressive at DEFCON. Bruno just saved Amram's job for another week. Yeah, that's why some Rebel fans might be happy, but look, I said this before, ultimately United need to have patience with one manager, stick with them, even when it gets really ugly, like it did with Arteta a few years ago in Arsenal. And whilst Arsenal haven't won much recently, they are still competing for trophies, and ultimately they're in a sustainable position, and that's where United want to get to, and then win cups, of course, as the other next step. But yeah, I think United are in a similar position to what Arsenal were 4 or 5 years ago, but it's even worse, to be honest, because they ultimately finished 15th last season. I am free hitting in Game Week 4. Any good Fulham picks? Well, Rodrigo Muniz, Jimenez is always a bit of a conundrum because one can start one week, then the other will start the next. I think Rodrigo Muniz is probably well poised to start. Jimenez, I think, has been called up with Mexico. Muniz hasn't with Brazil. So Manice could have the edge in Game Week 4, actually. So that could be a decent shout. Harry Wilson, if fit, could also be pretty decent too. So, yeah, I think those two would stand out. I like Josh King as a 4-point family midfielder, but he's not someone I necessarily want to start. But against Leeds, I think a Fulham attacker could definitely be very decent, of course. I'm not sure about the defenders, maybe Joachim Andersen for the DEFCON. So those are the players I'd pinpoint. My favourite is probably Manice, who has been heavily linked with Leeds, actually. So that could be quite interesting. So other players to kind of highlight in terms of most impressive. From Brighton, difficult to say. I mean, I was going to say something a little bit rogue, actually. Just throughout the summer as well. And I think he's had a decent start to the season. I think Ayari hasn't been too bad, but I think Brighton were that poor against Everton that it already makes you kind of second guess that sort of suggestion. But maybe Ayari from Brighton. Man City's most impressive player so far is probably Reinders, for me anyway. And then, yeah, to complete the list of every other club. So for Forest, I'm going to say Elliot Anderson for me. In Doy as well, with returns in both games so far. West Ham is difficult. Probably Paqueta. Liverpool, Ekatike is the one that I highlighted earlier. With Arsenal, it's Calafiori, and yeah, it's probably just Calafiori, I think. He's been the most impressive, and I've been quite surprised to see him start both games so far. Hopefully he stays fit. But Hincapié has been signed, of course, for the Gunners. He can cover at left back and also play in Gabriel's absence. So Arsenal have a lot of depth again in those defensive positions. For Aston Villa, the best player is probably a defender, to be quite honest with you. It's not going to be an attacker, so I'm probably going to say Tyrone Mings or Cash. And for Crystal Palace, the best player so far, maybe Lacroix. But that's just a personal opinion of mine, I think. You've also got Munoz, who's always good to watch. But yeah, I'd say Lacroix has been my favourite. So yeah, in terms of chip strategy, there is a video on it. I know I talked about Gameweek 1 and 2 using some chips there, and obviously those have gone by now. But my chip strategy would be to go for Salah or Haaland triple captain against one of those newly promoted sides. So Burnley away in Gameweek 4 is definitely a possibility for me to go for Salah there. With the bench boost, I'll be quite honest with you. I'm just going to use it whenever I feel like I've got a good squad and I've got my weakest players on my bench and they've got decent, opponents and they look quite promising that week. With the free hit, whilst Gameweek 4 isn't ruled out, I'd probably look to use it a bit later on in the season. Now, I'm going to show you the chip strategy graphics I've got very briefly, but like I said, some of it is a bit out of date. So I'm just going to let this play out, watch that video for more commentary and analysis, and this obviously shows you some different aspects of the game, like AFCON transfers. You can also see the doubles and blanks that we'll see later this season, and also an overview of every single chip, like the triple captain, the bench boost, free hit, and also the wild card, which is the most powerful booster in the game. So I'll let this play out, and then by the end, there's going to be a section which shows you my favorite time to use every single booster for the first half of the season and the second half of the campaign. So, voice crack. So basically, the first half of the season between Gameweeks 1 to 19, and the second half is between Gameweeks 20 to 38. So I discussed this as a possible way of approaching the new season. With the bench boost, I'll be honest with you, I'm looking at that a little bit later on. Now, the free hit is an interesting one, actually. I think I'll be using the triple captain or free hit in Gameweek 4. And depending on my final decision there, that will also inform when I use the other booster. So let's say, for example, I free hit in Gameweek 4. I would be using the triple captain in Gameweek 14. I think that'd be quite locked in for me. So that'd be Salah facing Sunderland at home. I wouldn't even rule out buying Erling Haaland before then and captaining him because he faces all three of Burnley, Leeds and Sunderland at home in the first half of the season. With a wild card, whilst I'm not ruling out Gameweek 13, which is a nice window to use it, Gameweek 8 is the most likely for me personally. The main reason why I'm less keen at the moment to wildcard in 13 is because just a few weeks later, everyone gets 5 free transfers in Gameweek 16 for AFCON, which you saw on the slide just a few seconds ago. So that is my kind of thinking at the moment. I will update these graphics if people want to see an updated chip strategy video as well, of course. For the second half of the season, I think that's a little bit more locked in, actually, even though it's so far away. And it ultimately depends on which teams blank and double. But I think a wildcard in Gameweek 33, a bench boost in... Sorry, a wildcard in 32, bench boost 33, free hit in blank Gameweek 34, and a triple captain in 36 could be viable. And the bench boost and triple captain could be switched. So it could be the other way around there. But I think that sort of sequence of chips could be very useful towards the back end of the season. So I'm going to go back to my FPL team probably one more time. I'm going to have dinner very soon, answer a few questions, but I do enjoy the chill stream that we have going on here and the people tuning in. Drop a like if you enjoy it, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and show support to the channel by checking the links in the description. There is my Patreon and the championships. Thank you to those that sign up today. A big up to David and also the others from the deadline stream earlier. And there is also my Discord server. So if you join, every single FPL point, bonus, goals, assists, lineup are all covered there. And also you're notified about every single deadline. So you'll never miss a single transfer and you can set your teams up well in advance. Any single video or live stream will also be posted on that Discord server. And you can do the same thing by hitting that notification bell on YouTube. So let's go for some questions first, then I'll show FPL Challenge and wrap things up. In better news, I captained Senesi in FPL Challenge for 44 points, 79 with Wood and Lacroix to play. That is incredible. And that definitely betters what I've got so far, which is 70, I believe. I captained Bruno Fernandes, and I also went for Collins and Tarkovsky with Robert Sanchez in goal. So a great start for both of us. And we've also got 2 players left tomorrow. Yeah, it's definitely in dive for me. I know Paqueta's been decent for West Ham. He scored a brilliant goal against Chelsea and also in midweek against Wolves. He's got a nice combination with Bowen, but yeah, it's going to be in dive for me at the moment. Got Watkins as captain. Can you pray for me? I captained him last week and he was so disappointing, but I hope for both of our sakes that he delivers tomorrow. And yeah, it would be great if both Watkins and Chris Wood do the business. Yeah, I think Grealish is looking like a decent pick so far, but I would temper my expectations with him. He hasn't scored a goal yet, and I do think the assists will not die down, but I think they will dip a little bit. So we will see a decrease in his returns, and ultimately the Dewsbury Hall goal was a fantastic finish. It's a good pass by Grealish, but most of the work was done with that fantastic volley there by Dewsbury Hall, which hit the crossbar and went in. So I would be a little bit careful about Jack Grealish, but yeah, he's not a bad pick. If you got him, definitely hold. I probably wouldn't buy him right now. My favourite at similar price would be Semenyo or Ismail Assar. How does Senesi get an assist? If Arnoldson's shot going wide deflected in, just like VAR agendas, I'm not so sure about that, mate. It took a deflection, but I'm not sure if it was going off target. Otherwise, it would have been an own goal, right? If Arnoldson scored, Senesi was the one who got the assist, or who provided the pass, so that's why he was given the Opta assist there. Safair says, Dylan, would you rather replace Cunha or Juff? 0.9 in the bank. I'm considering Gakpo, Sarr, Semenyo, or Lacroix, Van Dijk, Senesi. So a lot depends on which players you would start in that defensive line and the attack. So let's say, for example, if you keep Cunha, who are you going to put in the midfield or forward line? But I think the bigger priority would be Cunha, assuming that he misses out in Gameweek 4, which I think will be the case. Maybe Plowboy, but I think Cunha played well. So he hasn't got the goals or assists, but the performances have been decent. Maybe the kind of flop element to it is missing the penalty against Grimsby Town and not playing particularly well in the Carabao Cup there. It would just be the poetic story if Bruno scores versus City. It will be his 100th goal and against the local rivals. Yeah, when I saw a United fan discuss that, that kind of made me think, oh crap, maybe I've made a big mistake there. Yeah, Wobie's an option, definitely. I don't think he'll be anywhere near as good as he was last season, though, in FPL. Yeah, King should have had a goal. It was wrongfully disallowed, in my opinion. Paqueta to Villa, damn it, says Weiseng. Is that confirmed now? But yeah, either way, for the Ndai Paqueta question, I would say Ndai for me. Saud says, I feel the amount of crosses Newcastle put Waldemada could be a decent option if the price is right. Yeah, and let's also see what Xavi Simons' price is, but yeah, kind of a quick prediction. I think Nick Waldemada will come in at 7.5. 7.5 is what I'm thinking. Yeah, I'm going to say 7.5. With Xavi Simons, I think 7 million is what FPL will go for. Van der Ven and Pape Matissa replacement suggestions. Senesi, and if you've got the funds, I try to push towards a Semenya or Sarr. Hincapié is 5'11". I think Arteta might use him as a left back, but he is good from set pieces and he's quite good aerially. I've watched him a lot for Ecuador and a few times for Bayer Leverkusen. He's an impressive player with potential, but I don't think he'll play. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he'll start over Gabriel. You can cover for him and do a good job at it, but Hincapié's best chance of starting is over Calafiori at left back, but the Italian has been brilliant so far this season. Long may it continue. Kyle says, I'm on 36 points as Bruno captain and I have 7 players left. Yeah, that's looking very impressive, and you've got a healthy number for tomorrow. I think so. I talked about this in the deadline stream earlier. Brennan Johnson didn't play a single minute in a cup final against Paris Saint-Germain. That's quite telling. Then you've got Xavi Simons coming in, and that could reshuffle Spurs' attack a little bit. Of course, he can play on the left-hand side, but also in central areas. So with Brennan Johnson, he's not a bad FPL asset. I think he's quite decent. He'll score more goals than most in that Spurs attack, but he's not going to get 90 minutes week in, week out, that's for sure. I will bench boost after wildcarding, says Safair. Well, I'll do that in the second half of the season, that's for sure. And yeah, that is also something else I'm entertaining right now with my chip strategy. So if I wildcard in Gameweek 8, I could easily bench boost in Gameweek 9 or 10, depending on which players I go for and the fixtures. What are the teams to target for Gameweek 4 free hit? Liverpool is the obvious one against Burnley. I would highly recommend the triple up. Salah, Ekitike, and Van Dijk would be my preference right now. That could well change if Isak signs for Liverpool over the coming days. The other teams I would recommend is maybe Arsenal with 1 or 2 players, but perhaps not a triple up against Nottingham Forest. I would also say Crystal Palace against Sunderland. So you're looking at Mateta, Ismail Assar, and one of Munoz or Lacroix. After that, it becomes a little bit trickier. Maybe Newcastle. You go for 1, possibly 2 assets, but it is a little bit risky. And I think Spurs might be worth the investment against West Ham. Now, the Hammers hate Tottenham. We all know this, but yeah, I still think Spurs have more quality. And with that defence, I think Spurs will cause them a lot of problems. Chelsea's another one against Brentford. You know, Joao Pedro is someone you can't ignore. Cucurella defensively, they're absolutely fine. Even Caicedo or Enzo in the midfield. Yeah, those are the teams I'd target on the free hit. And if I do make a video throughout the international break, you'll see my thoughts on the 50-man squad as well. Yeah, Senesi's been mentioned a lot in this stream. I'm very impressed by him. Now, there is an element of that 14-pointer, you know, playing a big part in our kind of push towards him, but he's getting DEFCON points every single game. That's what I'm most impressed by. Thank you, Jacob de Lima. Thanks for the advice and info. Smart thinking. Yeah, those Gameweek chip choices all make sense. I see what you mean by wildcard 13 being close to AFCON, so maybe that's put me off it. So that's just one element of, you know, the argument. I still think it's viable. One big advantage of Gameweek 13 wildcard is the Man City factor with their fixture swing, but you've also got one around Gameweek 7 with Arsenal, actually. So wildcarding in Gameweek 8 could also be quite decent, but yeah, that's the thing that kind of puts me off the most, as you say, the fact that Gameweek 13 to 16, you've got, what, 3 Gameweeks in between, you wildcard, but then just a couple of weeks later, you've got 5 free transfers, no matter where you are by that stage. Barbary Corsair says, hi Dylan, but disappointing. I'm guessing bit disappointing from Kudus and Bodro. Thankfully, I've got 3 Arsenal players at the back. Look, as much as I love Arsenal and I think they've got the best defence, it's Liverpool away. I don't think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet, but I'd happily be proven wrong. The thing with Podro, though, is you got DEFCON, so 4 points isn't too bad, considering they lost 1-0 and Podro played quite poorly. Fabrizio says, Aston Villa in talks to sign Paqueta. He is keen on the move. And also signing Asensio from PSG. Yeah, I think that start to the season might have pushed Villa as well to make these moves, but they need even more reinforcements, and Daniel Marlin could leave. Joao Pedro is killing me. Yeah, when you've got a player of that sort of price tag and ownership, it is quite difficult to compete with. Goodmanson again on my bench with a 9-pointer, hoping someone doesn't play, but not very likely. Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. I thought Newcastle would score, but I'm not too surprised about Leeds getting a result. Originally, I said 2-2 in that prediction, but yeah, that is a bit frustrating. Do you think all three promoted teams can survive? I wouldn't rule out completely, but I still have Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley in my bottom three. But I think Wolves are in big trouble. I really feel that way. Are you considering Richarlison after Xavi Simons' signing? I'll be honest, if I wanted to go for Richarlison, I would have done so already. I'm not going to go there. I'd rather go for Mateta. Obviously, I bought Chris Wood this week. There's also Evanesson, who I think is better long-term than Richarlison. Yeah, I don't think that's the way to go now. Serial Football says 30 points from 7 on the free hit. Need Haaland and Forest to revive my game week. That's still a decent score, though. But yeah, on the free hit, you're always expecting a great outcome. Literally every 50-50 decision has failed. Ndai versus Kudus, Cunha versus Mbumo, Tarkovsky versus Cher. That's a bit unfortunate, but at least with Tarkovsky, you got Defcon. That's the bright side of it. I don't think Cher would have gotten too many more points, if I'm not mistaken. Then again, I didn't see if Cher got Defcon. If that's the case, then I can feel your pain there. Yeah. When you have a 50-50 call and it goes the other way, that can be one of the most frustrating parts of FPL, but it's part and parcel of the game, unfortunately. So with Newcastle Leeds, yeah, no one got Defcon from Newcastle. Actually, that's incorrect. Oh, sorry, I forgot that Longstaff went to Leeds. Yeah, Longstaff is the only player from that game that got Defcon points. Everyone else was just short. In terms of bonus points, yeah, Cher's getting 6 points, Tarkovsky 4, right? That's not too bad. It's a 2-point swing. I know it's still 2 points, you'd rather have them, but it could be worse, I feel. Okay, so drop a like if you haven't already. Thank you to those that are tuning in. Still over 300 of you, and it's quite late in the UK, almost 10 p.m. at night. Obviously, that goes without saying. Brought Ben and Johnson for Palmer, terrible. It is West Ham, though, up next. I think he could do fairly well there, but the minutes will be a massive concern. I think Simmons gets the same price as Maddison. Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, 7.5 million. He's got a bit more reputation than Brennan Johnson and the other Spurs attackers. Yeah, I could see him at 7.5. I think both him and Nick Waltemada will come in at 7 million minimum. My prediction was 7.5 for the Newcastle striker. Yeah, with Xavi Simons, it's close. I'm going to stick with 7 million, though. We'll see how it turns out. 7.5 is a good prediction. Jojo says, yes, Dylan, I hope you're having a good night in Game Week, smashing it as always. Or usual. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Yeah, FPL not too great so far, but it's 3 players out of 3. They've all returned. 8 tomorrow. Let's see how it goes. But that late Bruno penalty was a bit of a killer because I almost bought him in for free, and I would have started in die if I went there. So to show you something more positive, FPL bloody challenge, 60 points. Sanchez clean sheet, Tarkovsky and Collins defensive contributions, Bruno Fernandes the same, late penalty as my captain, and I've made a late change of Lacroix in for Chris Wood to target Defcon this week, and Erling Haaland is my only striker. Waltemada should be 7 tops, just 1 season at the top level. Yeah, I think that's fair. 7 million for Waltemada, 7.5 for Xavi Simons. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah. Joao Pedro is killing me too. I just don't like him, so can't see myself picking him anyway. He's a decent player, but I'll be honest, last season, just the way he died for that penalty against Arsenal, I didn't like it one bit. And obviously he scored in the other game, which is fair enough. I just think the way it happened was a bit contentious, obviously, but there you go. He is a good player. Yeah, full season, of course, and he has done well for Germany. The under-21 side, anyway. Thank you, Safir. As he says, smash the like. Did I hear Solanke injured again? I wouldn't be too surprised, but he never got injured at Bournemouth, so yeah, unfortunately, we are getting more injuries with every single day. I'll have a quick look at the Solanke news. Yeah, I think... yeah, he didn't even make the squad, so he is injured. I'm just not sure how serious it is, but obviously that would play into the thinking of Richarlison being an option for Game Week 4. I'm still not a big fan of him long term, and I've said that from the beginning. Good start to the season, but just like Brennan Johnson, yeah, I think the best Spurs attacker is still Kudus because of minutes. Isak deal is agreed for 150 million, right? certain sources indicated that it was a 130 million fee. It's still not fully confirmed as far as I'm aware anyway, but yeah, I think a deal will be struck, especially if Newcastle get their second striker in Visser. Welcome, John. Good to see you. Got 2.8 in the bank. Got Haaland, Wood, and Richarlison. Want to replace Richie or wait after West Ham. Got Kudus and Borro also. Yeah, I get that. I wouldn't be selling Spurs assets before West Ham, and we'll see how the Hammers respond tomorrow. What could go wrong is if Forest batter West Ham, they sack Graham Potter, and they get a new manager in, and some people have mentioned Mourinho, for example. That could be terrible for Spurs, so we'll see how it all pans out. But as things stand, I would keep those players, but long-term, Mateta, Chris Wood, even Evanilson would be better than Richarlison. Richarlison is hot and cold, people. He could go on a run, not doing much, was not doing good today. Yeah, and look, in his first Spurs season, he was terrible. He scored his first goal in like Gameweek 33 or something against Liverpool, took his shirt off or whatever, doing the pigeon celebration, then he gets humbled by Diogo Jota. But yeah, look, with Richarlison, he has his moments. He has special goals in him, as we saw against Burnley. He'll have a purple patch, which he did 2 years ago under Ange Postecoglou. But yeah, ultimately, he's going to be disappointing at times. 17 points of Triple Forest, Wood as captain. Sorry, and Watkins left tomorrow. Is that Sa? But yeah, not too bad. I mean, yeah, Triple Forest needs to do the business for you. And the Spurs players flopping, not great. Yes, Sa. Hopefully Ismaila Sarr is another one that does the business, but I'm not looking great. Good night, Dylan and chat. Best of luck with the remaining Gameweek 3 games. Thank you, Safir, and likewise. Thank you, John, and no, I do not. A2K Code says Haaland hat-trick incoming. I don't think so, but I think a goal or two is what we'll probably see. Who can West Ham get in to replace Paqueta with so little time left? Well, there are many players out there. It's just a question of who's available or who could you prize out of a certain club and convince them to join West Ham. I mean, the London factor will be slightly appealing. They can get a player like Kudus, as they did a few years ago, but that would be a massive loss for the Hammers, and they could also be in serious trouble and potentially be a relegation candidate, but it is early days. Diego Rodriguez says Man United free hit got bailed out. Yeah, I agree. As well as Chelsea shutout should have never been a thing. I mean, I completely agree, to be honest. I mean, the Bruno Fernandes late penalty, it can happen, right? That's one of the main strengths of Bruno as an FPL asset. The Fulham one was, I'd say it's a robbery, personally, with some of those decisions, but yeah, who knows? Would Chelsea have still won the game? Maybe, but I think Fulham were hard done by. I had Dewsbury Hall with 12 points on the bench, hope somebody doesn't play. That's always the hope when you get a big return on your bench. Wolves, West Ham, also in big trouble. Yes, and even Brentford aren't completely clear yet. But I think those three, alongside Leeds, Sunderland, and Burnley, would be the kind of bottom six as things stand. But it is early days. Damn, I don't know why the tables take so long to update. It's just a database. Is that the FPL tables you're talking about? Because I'm pretty sure the Premier League ones are all done. Oh yeah, with the leaderboards and stuff and the mini leagues. Yeah, you have to wait until the end of the day. I think by midnight to 1 a.m. in the UK, you will see the updates. Easy says, just watch my countrymen play Alaves, drawing 1-1 against Atletico. 10 clearances, 4 draws win. It's a shame he's not in FPL. Hi Dylan, I have Gakpo as captain. Do you think he will haul as Arsenal are depleted? I mean, Arsenal have a lot of injuries, but that's in the forward line. Havertz, Saka, Gabriel Jesus, Ben White and Norgard are possibly out, but Arsenal have more depth now. Look, Gakpo's been in good form. I wouldn't rule him out scoring tomorrow, and whilst I've got him in my team, I hope he doesn't, but I don't think Arsenal are depleted defensively. They can still go for Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, assuming he doesn't get injured. You've got Lewis Skelly backing that up. Kivior's about to join Porto, but Hinkapia will replace him. There's Mosquera, who is very impressive in my opinion. I think that's an absolute steal from Valencia for £13 million. And if Ben White is available, you've got yet another solid option. So, yeah, we'll see. But I think Arsenal aren't in the worst shape. But, yeah, missing Saka, potentially Odegaard, would be massive, of course. Looks like Wolves get bitten in the bottom table. Yeah, I think 17th. or below is definitely looking likely. Yeah, Dan Burn, no Defcom. Yeah, I think the only player from that game was Sean Longstaff for Leeds. How does Enzo get 1 point, 1 bonus with 1 goal, 1 assist, and Joao Pedro gets free? Well, I did mention this at the beginning. Joao Pedro secured the free bonus points with that goal line clearance, and I mentioned this in my key changes to FPL video. If a player makes a goal line clearance now, it will give you 8 points, I believe, in the BPS. So that was a massive boost to Joao Pedro. I think before that, he wouldn't have been getting maximum bonus. Tom says, hit my wildcard at 1 millionth ranked for the fun of it. Yeah, not a bad rank to be at by this stage, and wildcarding in Gameweek 4 is fine. You've got an international break, also 3 Gameweeks worth of data. I'll probably wildcard later on, but maybe if I don't really push on and tomorrow doesn't go according to plan, maybe I feel differently. That's just the way how FPL and Premier League can be, right? Hello, Dylan. Thoughts on the free hit Gameweek 4? I always liked it more than Gameweek 3. And it's a possibility for me, but the triple captain is more likely on Mohamed Salah. Adit says, thinking of transferring out one of Bruno or Mbumo. Maybe Xavi Simons. I wouldn't go for Xavi Simons just yet, but selling Mbumo or one of those United players is absolutely fine. I'd rather keep Bruno and sell Mbumo to Semenyo or Sarr. Who do you consider Arsenal's main rival, and can you rate the rivalry of Arsenal with all the London clubs? Well, based on the local factor and the ferocity of it, it would be Tottenham Hotspur, but, you know, the only kind of argument Spurs really have is Europe. You know, they've won a few Europa Leagues, I think it's 3 now. Arsenal have won 2 European trophies, but not Champions Leagues, but 2 league titles to Arsenal's 13. I mean, yeah, let me not go into all the details, but there is a big gap. I mean, how does Arsenal's rivalry compare with, let's say, Chelsea? They make a lot of dealings between each other. But yeah, over the last 20 years, obviously they've been the most successful London clubs. Historically, it's Arsenal. Chelsea have been doing well in Europe. But yeah, I'd say Arsenal's main rival is Tottenham in London. Then it's Chelsea. Then it's probably West Ham. I don't see there's not really much against Crystal Palace, but they are quite a tough cookie to crack at times. And obviously a few players now have joined. Obviously we gave them Nketiah. We've got Ian Wright from them and Eze. But yeah, I don't think there's really much rivalry between Arsenal and most London clubs, but I don't know, maybe they feel differently. I think they'll probably hate Arsenal more than Arsenal hate them. You know, Brentford's another one, Watford. So yeah, there's plenty of examples, but yeah, outside of Spurs and Chelsea, I don't think the others are that ferocious. I think most London clubs hate Tottenham more, if I can say that myself. Player transfer fees and salaries are just mad. Yes, this market is absolutely inflated. So the dates have been confirmed, Easy, and I will cover this on my channel. But I believe it's in 16 days. So that's when we will get it. So 14th of September, I'll be going live around 2 hours before the match day deadline, maybe even 2 hours and a half. Keep your eyes peeled for that. So yeah, here it says 16th of September, 5:45 p.m. UK time deadline. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. That'll be on a Tuesday, of course. Will you do use your lineup like FPL, especially top teams? I'll have a look at it, but look, even 20 is very difficult, you know, for the Premier League and keeping up to date with that every single week. The 36 Champions League teams, that's going to be quite an ask. If I got the time and I'm able to compile that list, I'll do it. But yeah, if I were to build that sort of list now, it's going to look much different in a couple of weeks' time after the international break and more matches taking place. But yeah, thank you everyone. It has been a blast talking to you for the past 2 hours. If you haven't already, you know the drill. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and check all the links in the description for my Patreon and the championships, further access to my videos, amongst many other perks. There's also my Discord server, the FPL League, and my Spotify. The same goes for Instagram, X, and Blue Sky. So thank you very much for all your support. A big up to all the members, to Paredes for gifting 10 memberships in the deadline stream earlier, and yeah, to the super chatters. It is all genuinely appreciated, and all the comments, messages that have come in. But yeah, I'm not sure if something's gone wrong, by the way. I'll have a look, because right now my live chat is literally frozen completely. So yeah, I'm not sure if there are any issues. I don't think YouTube is telling me anything wrong. Same with OBS. I think it's just a a little issue here with, well, just the chat, but it's all good. I was going to wrap up anyway, and I'll see you very soon for more UCL fantasy content and FPL videos. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's a lot more to look forward to as we close in on 35,000 subscribers. Have a good night.